Oh, we being recorded.
I'm sorry.
You have somebody joining in.
I do.
Yeah, and we're being recorded.
Well, being recorded. Well, that's nice.
She was just in front of there. She took off.
Okay. I think that. Shoot, where'd she go? Somewhat. Come back. I don't know how to make it do it. Well, she can record me if she wants. I can hear a voice. I can hear something in the back. There's a reason why there's going to be another class. There's going to be coding and something. It's going to be in here.
Coding.
Coding, C-O-D-I-N-G. For insurance purposes, especially medical insurance, you have to put in just the right code for just the right diagnosis so you don't get your money right.
So what are they
That's
doing?
like-
Why don't you just disconnect that?
What are they doing?
Because I
Course or
think they're
something?
coming to, there's going to be a course in here
For coding.
on coding. But
Yeah,
it's
coding.
not going to be us. We're going to go to a different room.
What is that for? Like a job fair or something? Like.
It's like this. It's something to learn.
Okay, so something that you can have on your resume, like what you know then.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna just find out for a minute.
Hi.
That's freaking creepy. I just look up and see the fucking TVs.
Yeah.
It's like, why don't you just unplug the damn thing? It's so funny to do.
So what they got in 2 rooms? Got this one. That's another room right there. Where the camera TV's at.
Isn't it the guidance over
I didn't see her go because I was teaching. I don't know what to tell you. Did somebody come back on?
Not yet.
They're still recording us?
Yeah.
Would you like me to turn it away so you're not feeling like you're... Hi. I'm glad you joined us, but I don't think you're supposed to be here. So I'm going to turn you away from my class. You can watch me teach all you want, but they're not going to be happy to have you. I think they need it to record. So I'm just going to do, yeah. So we're just going to do this. That way they're recording me. It won't matter. Okay, I love to be a movie star. Okay, so, let's turn down the volume.
As soon as I heard a voice, like you guys.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. This one?
What? The camera loves you.
Well, it's quiet anyway. All right, so, back to this. If you see the secretary go through, you know the woman who sits in the office usually, just let me know and I'll go find her.
How did that person get in anyways?
There's another door on the side. They have Del Ed thing. That side door over there is usually open for Del Ed. There's a lot of people go in and out through there. So, anyway, we're back to 5.5% of policies is 66. So, this is the is, so 66 is equal to 5 1/2
Or 5.5.
or 5.5% times something, we don't know. So we're going to make this into a decimal by moving it over 2 places, right? And then we're going to divide this by that decimal. So 66 divided by, and I had to put a 0 in there to fill in the hole, right?
So 66 divided by 0.055
Yeah.
Equals 1200.
And
I mean, yep, 1200.
1200 is the right answer. Hey! Okay, help! Help! People are trying to come to a class in this classroom. Are they doing coding? There's a woman running around looking for coding. It's listed on the door.
It's not being held here.
Where is it being held? It says here. Desperately for it. There's a woman running around looking for it, and I think this guy said the same thing.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Who's with me? Hi.
Hello. I think you have the wrong. I think there's no class for you tonight. Are you looking for coding and medical terminology?
Yes. Coding.
Yeah. It's not going to be in this classroom today. And
Okay, so just shut me off.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. How do I shut her off?
Have a great week.
Thank you. I have to figure out how to shut you off. I don't have any of the stuff.
Sounds like you're talking to a computer.
I gotta get to this one.
Go.
Yeah. I was hoping I would finish this, but I could do this at the house. It's only
Yes,
4 more
in that
questions.
case.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I can send Yes. Both. Yeah. Here. This is the work. This is review today. Remember, next week's vacation. There won't be any class next week.
All right, cool.
So you'll have a week and a half.
All right.
I expect to see some of those things done.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Especially when we have a word problem.
I know, because I'm not trying to do this again.
No.
I'm doing my homework.
I just don't know how to get it turned off.
All right, thank you. I see you
Unplug it.
22 Thursday at Homestead.
All right, hi, Steph. And I saw that Francis joined me. And I don't remember who this is over here. And this is Noble. And this is someone else.
Someone joined named Star.
Yep, Star is Francis. And we have Steph there in the headband, I think. All right. This lady in black hair and blue shirt is, hi there, I'm Doreen. Can everyone hear me? Okay. All right. So you just finished terminology, right? You finished up terminology last week? Pretty much. Okay, so we're going to get started. And when you have questions, go ahead and unmute and just ask away, okay? All right. Gray.
That's her.
Who's Gray?
That's Carolyn. That's Carolyn.
Carolyn. Oh, yes, Carolyn. Let's see, I can't. If I do that, I'm going to get everyone.
Anybody text Carolyn?
Okay.
So keep everybody else off.
If I did that, if I had accepted her, I don't know how to merge the two. So it was just easier. And I did add Cray to the session, so they should have gotten the call. But if they had issues just like I had issues, then we have no idea what's going to happen. So, all right. Steph left. Okay. So, the first few minutes we always have technical issues. So we're going to start in the room and introducing ourselves. So we'll start over here on the left with Celeste. And I only know Celeste because she started terminology last session, and we were kind of overlapping coding and terminology, so I was helping out getting Celeste and Faith set up for terminology in this room. And they had experienced technical issues just like we have experienced throughout all of the courses, as you know. So, Celeste, tell us about yourself. Why are you here?
Because I want to get my license. It's a goal. And I feel devil that happens to me. My job right now. And that's what I want to do to the end of the road. So, and maybe I can do it at home.
Hi, Carolyn. Okay. Can you hear me, Carolyn? Thumbs up. Perfect. Okay. Nancy.
I'm Nancy. I work for Mercy. I've been in coding on and off for probably 16 years. Started in the billing office, so I've actually done billing.
Then you can teach the class?
No, I don't think so.
Absolutely.
I wanted to get my license for a long time, but I've been afraid to take the course because, I don't know, it's just, and time. Not a lot of time, so. But I'm glad to be here.
Okay. Well, great. We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Rebecca says that I've met her before, and I'm sure I have.
Becky. I'm taking this because I am in the middle of divorce. Been married for 28 years. We have 6 kids together, but I'm ready to move on and do my own thing. And I've worked for my sister and Barbara in their office, and I work with insurance. I worked at Blue Cross and Unum, but I hate the insurance business. I'd rather go into the hospital. So that's
Okay. Okay. Great. And our token single person at the back of the room is Ruth. She is currently she's becoming our CMAA instructor. So she's here tonight to kind of just
See the technical end of
see the technical end of things.
Tomorrow night.
She actually starts tomorrow night.
Congratulations to the team. Fabulous.
So she's just here to observe, keeps her mouth. Okay. And Lori, tell us.
6 kids and so much knowledge.
That's not
Great.
really.
This is great. I'm Lori.
I have 5 kids, so by the way.
Oh my gosh. Wow. This is my second time around, so I'm hoping the second time is a charm.
Okay, clarify that though. It's not really your second time because you came for like the first 4 classes, so you kind of got your feet wet.
Yes.
So we're starting fresh.
I'm starting fresh. Yes. Thank you. I'm starting fresh. Just came off of medical terminology, actually, yes. And I am looking to get my license as well.
Great.
I'm Faith, and as I've already shared, I started the class with Lori and Doreen and then had a seizure. First one I've ever had in my life. I've had an exhaustive medical workup. Everything's perfectly fine, but I couldn't drive for a long time because you're not allowed to drive after you have a seizure. So I had to step away from everything, and then I didn't trust my brain to learn anything anymore because it had turned on me like a rabid dog and given me a seizure. So Doreen kind of talked me down from that and ultimately suggested, rather than trying to start where you were or pick it back up from where they were and circle back around, start it fresh, give yourself a break. So that's what I've been doing, or that's what I'm doing now, and I'm very excited and delighted to be here with all of you and see you again. It's just all good.
All right, and we have, I believe, Carolyn Pratt in gray, right?
Right.
Okay, Carolyn, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I work for Mercy Hospital, been there for 16, 17 years. I don't know, time flies when you have fun. And I've done reception, referrals, billing, and coding. And right now I'm doing coding.
So why aren't you teaching this class?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so you hope to become licensed as well?
Yes.
To be a better marketing?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe 2, 3 years I want to semi-retire, and we want to travel, and I think maybe if I travel I can work part-time doing coding.
Absolutely, so then we need to talk about that. All right, Stephanie, tell us a little bit about you. It's Stephanie Jones, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I used to work at Norway Savings for about 7 years, and I needed a change. I wanted to do something different. So.
Okay. So what drew you to the healthcare field?
My sister and my mom are both in that field, so I figured I might as well join too.
Absolutely, make it a family thing. Great.
That's right.
And it's Francis?
Yeah, it's Rachel. Can you hear me?
Rachel Francis.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, good. Okay, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good.
So tell us a little bit about you.
This is my second time around as well, because I had surgery and I had lots of complications from it.
Okay.
Went through a couple classes and I had surgery and I couldn't do it, but hoping to get licensed now that everything's okay, and married, 2 kids, husband in the military, so here I am.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm glad to have all of you here. I'm actually glad it's such a big class. Usually when it's just 1 or 2, it's not as much fun, but we get through it. Tonight really is an introduction night. So we might go the full 3 hours, we might not. Just depends on how much fun we're having, okay? I know that there have been a lot of emails going around, back and forth, back and forth. The hard part is because I do work full time. I've been in the healthcare field for, I figured it out, 20 years, and in chiropractic for 15 plus. So how did I get started? I got started by volunteering in a chiropractic office. That's how I got started in the chiropractic world. In the healthcare field, I started up at the VA center at Togus in the x-ray department as the admin and ward clerk. So healthcare has always been something I've loved doing, and I have my own business where I consult and I do coding and billing and training front office staff and a little bit of everything. So I'm glad to have all of the knowledge coming here because, as I said, you guys could be teaching this class too. Absolutely. So I'm going to pick on you. All right? I'm going to pick on you. Remember that, Carolyn. I'm going to pick on you.
I think you should pick on Carolyn.
Yeah. But it's good to have that knowledge because even though things have changed, things have stayed the same as well. And I like to hear some of the old stories about what it was like when someone else started before I did, or, sometimes 6 months ago. Okay, it can be that different that quickly, as we all know. The syllabus. So let's talk a little bit about the syllabus. You have all gotten what I call the new syllabus, what I call the 2014 syllabus.
I'm not sure I have the 2014.
All right, I'll make sure you get it. Again.
You mean the assignment?
It starts out with getting around evolve. how to log into Evolve.
Did you email that to us?
They all go.
Can we use our computers?
Hi there.
They had my wrong email.
How are you?
Until yesterday.
It's hot in here. Is it hot in here or is it me? Could be me. I'm usually hot flash.
I don't feel hot.
Okay.
I flash too.
I can see you. Can you hear me okay? Just do a thumbs up. Thumbs up? You can hear me?
Okay, here it is.
I know I've seen you in
I
terminology.
have it in my
Oh,
computer
yeah.
too, but I had a hard copy.
And yes, wear layers, ladies. It's either hot or it's cold.
Can you add me and Lori to the email chain? As I haven't.
Yes.
I mean, I've been communicating with you directly, but not.
Yes. Okay. No volume, ladies? Can't hear me? Okay, good. So if you want to ask questions, just unmute. Okay? So yes, this syllabus has gone out. I will make sure you all have a new one by tomorrow morning, okay? It's what I call the 2014 syllabus. For some of you who, signed up in 2013, you might have gotten that one, and actually this hasn't changed from what you ladies have, but I will send another one.
Thank you.
Okay, so the syllabus starts with getting around Evolve, creating a Jabber account if you haven't done that, tips for a successful connection. You shouldn't be wireless. If you do, just understand you might have problems. It tells you how to get a hold of Network Maine with their phone number so that if you are trying to connect to a live class, you can call them and get help to get connected to the class. You also should have what is called an assignment checkoff sheet. Okay? An assignment checkoff sheet. On it, you have your how you want your name to appear on the certificate. You have the step-by-step chapter exams. You have your coding exam review and your Adams scores. Then we have what we call the 20-week course syllabus, starting out with Adams' book. This week homework was reading 5 and 6. If you did any of the exercises, fine. If you didn't, that's fine too. Again, tonight was really more about introduction and maybe starting these 2 chapters and reviewing stuff, because next week is vacation week. Guess what? No class next week. So you have plenty of time to get your books and get started and get the homework done that I'm going to assign you. And I say that with a grin. Now, so about 20 weeks puts us to, you didn't get one?
No, I've only received one email from
Okay.
you.
Oh, and that's because I had the wrong email.
Right. We fixed it yesterday.
Yeah. All right, so that puts us 20 weeks with the 2 vacations, February and April. I'm looking at the end of June, maybe the middle of July. So depending on how the course goes, we could actually finish right in the 20 weeks. Now, I have not had a chance yet to look at when the exams are in the fall, but my plan is to have you all ready to sit for an exam within the month after we're done class. Okay? That's my goal. Yes?
I have a vacation planned.
That's
I didn't
fine.
realize that the second week of July would be, I believe my vacation starts the 5th.
Okay.
To the 13th. But I can probably fit something in there.
Well, wherever we're ending,
okay,
you're just going to be responsible for, by that time, we should be at the pre, post, and final exam phase, and then setting up a mock exam. Okay? And as we get through the course, we'll talk more about the expectations along the way, where things should be at. The national exam is again at the very end. It's 5 hours and 40 minutes. You will hear me talk about it throughout the course. So if you miss it or don't take notes on it, you can sit and listen to the lectures again. I try to talk about it either at the beginning or at the end, but we're not going to go into detail tonight about the national exam.
Can I just ask one quick question
Yes.
about that? I'm just wondering, and with love, and I'm not asking anything that I mean to make you uncomfortable. You ladies have been working in billing for years and years and years. I don't understand how you could work in a career for 10, 15 years and still not be able to pass the certification exam without going through a specialty course.
Because they do not prepare you for that at all.
I can tell you why I couldn't. My idea of the exam is, what I do is I do primary care billing, primary care coding.
Okay.
So primary care and express care coding is what I do. As far as I know, the exam is based more on like doctors in the hospital doing like surgeries and things like that.
No.
Right? Isn't it the physician part of that you're coding for the physician, but he could be doing different procedures that I've never done, I've never coded for before.
Okay.
So it's because you work in a general practice and the exam is so broad, you have to be prepared through
Yes.
class formats.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes perfect
Yeah,
sense.
I mean,
Okay.
you just get stationed as one practice, and they may not vary. They
Okay.
just do the same thing, and
That
this is
makes
going to be
perfect
an
sense.
overall
Right.
of everything.
Because this will prepare you in the outpatient setting.
Right.
And then from here, you can go into the hospital and billing coding portion of the class 2. We offer that afterwards, as well as the ICD-10 boot camp. But the reason why no one really is prepared to just go from their desk to a national exam is because they're usually sitting in a specialized area.
Okay, that makes
They're
perfect
not,
sense, but not anything
they
else.
don't have the broadness or the range that this book covers. Okay? So that would be why.
Makes sense.
Okay? And you guys can all hear me fine. Okay, good. All right, so books. What books should you have? Let's start off with your Buck Step-by-Step book. This is the textbook. You will either have the 2013 or the 2014. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Okay? Along with the Buck textbook, you have a Buck workbook. You will have a 2014 ICD-9 book. And those of you who had 13s, I'm sure you have turned them in and you are getting the 14 or you have the 14. Okay? You have the Adams book, which is the billing and reimbursement. That hasn't changed. You have your HCPC book.
I didn't bring them. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, you have a HCPC book, 2014. And then you should also have a CPT book coming. If you don't have any of these books, please send me an email. Okay? So do I need to repeat that for you two ladies? Okay, good. Yes, Rachel.
Is the HCPC book that little one that I got like the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought that was you got the other day, the little one.
The little one, the little gray silver one.
I don't know what color it is, but it's physically smaller. I thought that was the CPT.
It's physically smaller, and it's your HCPC book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Thank
some of you have this one, and some of you have a small one that looks like probably a 5x7 and it's spiral bound. That's also a HCPC. Okay. And no one has their CPT book. Did you have one? Did you bring one?
Did you want to see mine?
If you have it, please, yes.
I have the 2013
Okay. That will do for now. No, that's your diagnosis book.
Oh,
The CPT book is the other one that looks
I'm sorry, I heard you wrong.
orange and purple or orange and...
I didn't bring those.
Okay. Well, we don't need it tonight, but you're supposed to have a CPT book too.
So just to confirm, it's Buck Workbook, Buck, HCPCS, CPT, Adams, and ICD-9.
Yes. And your CPC exam review book. So we end up with 7 books, I believe.
Mhm.
Okay? 7 books total. So again, for those of you who do not have them, just send me an email. Tonight we're working with the Adams book, so we'll be all set.
Did you say 7 books?
Yes.
Thank you.
Does anyone have the exam review book yet, or is that on the way? Because I don't think I have that one.
It's a red one. I didn't think to bring mine tonight. And it should be a 2014. If you have the 2013, I wouldn't worry about turning it in. But just let me know if you have those when you get home. Okay? So let me know if you have the CPC physician exam review books as well. Right? 7 books?
I've got 7 books at home.
Yeah, I called Amy about the coding and reimbursement, and she said she was supposed to do like a 3-day rush.
Okay.
I haven't seen it, but I'm hoping it will be there tonight when I get home.
Okay.
If not, should I email her or email you?
Me.
Okay.
Email me.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Every week, Tuesday night, 5:30, we'll be here. I don't care if you bring food or beverage. We will have a break like halfway in between, but also if you need to get up and use the facilities, they're right across the hallway, so you don't have to go far. I like to have this an interactive class, so if that bothers you and you don't want to be called on, send me an email later on that says, please don't pick on me. Okay? Send me an email that says, please don't pick on me, and I will be happy to do so. Pick on you. Because that's how we all learn, especially with the wealth of knowledge that we're all bringing to the class. That's how we're going to help each other. Because you're currently working in the hospital field. I'm working in the outpatient field. You know, some of you have been just doing administrative work. Guess what billing is? Administrative work. Learning how to follow up on stuff. And then the coding side, that's a whole nother language. It really, truly is a whole nother language. So Rebecca, when you've been working for Cindy and Barbara, you've probably been doing a lot of data entry and posting.
I was chasing money.
Okay, and looking at codes, right? And wondering what in the heck is all this for. You probably knew what they were, but they still were kind of gibberish to you. So hopefully we will demystify all of that for you. But it really does become, or is, a whole new language. And when I tell people that I love to do this work, they think I'm crazy. One of my close friends, we were talking at dinner one night, and she heard me say Billy and Cody. So now it is a joke between us that I'm at Billy and Cody class. Okay, which is kind of funny. So tonight, what we're going to start with is the Adams coding and reimbursement. Now, I know that you probably all started or wanted to start with Chapter 1. And when you got the syllabus, you were trying to think, what in the world? We're starting on Chapter 5? That doesn't make any sense. Or you wanted to pick up the Buck book and start with Chapter 1 there. Well, what happens in the fall, and you will learn this as we go throughout the class, is that our books actually get updated in the fall. So we didn't have some of the books to start the fall class when we needed to. Right, ladies? We were waiting and waiting and waiting. And as you all know, you still have some of your books. I'm still waiting. I actually gave mine away so someone else could have them, so I'm still waiting. So when I redid the syllabus, I did it with this in mind, so that we wouldn't have to wait for those books again, or if we do wait for those books, we can manage without them for a while. So I cannot stress enough that when I say just read, because the Adams book is not on the national exam. What you're doing in the Adams book is repetition of what we will be learning also in the Buck book, okay? There was a time where I actually had the Adams book combined. Hello, Rayanne.
Hello.
Welcome.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay.
Yay, we just started. I'm just talking about the Adams book and getting started now. And this will be recorded so you can watch the 30 minutes that you have missed it. You haven't missed much, okay? So,
all right, thank you.
I did have the Adams book and the Buck book combined because you do have chapters in the Buck that are kind of piggybacking off of the Adams book. I've sorted them out this way these last two sessions because I think attacking the billing all at once makes more sense, and then we can dive right into coding. And then come back around and pull it all together by putting the claims and the information on claim forms, which is what Chapter 10 is all about in your Adams book. Okay? So, I will repeat myself because evidently some people have a hard time hearing it. It goes in one ear and not the other. It's okay to just read in the Adams book and go back and do the exams later because it's all repetition, okay? And if you're really excited about doing it, you can read all of it, you can do all of the work in the book, and you can do all the exams on your ball. And then come in and teach the class. But as some of you have experienced already and already know, that to try and do terminology and coding at the same time sometimes does not always work, okay? And there is nothing wrong with that, nothing at all. So we're starting fresh. Or for those of you who started last year and are just starting up again now, guess what? That's okay too. You're not behind. You're just starting fresh. So if you already go into this with the mindset, I'm already behind, I have to catch up, I have to catch up, I have to catch up, it's not going to do you any good. It really isn't. So yes, this is a little pep talk already, and you'll get them throughout the course. But I have students who are emailing me and frantic, and I'm talking them off a ledge because they have missed so many classes because life has happened. Guess what? Life happens. We all have stuff. 5 kids, 6 kids, surgeries, deaths, cars breaking down, you name it. Okay? It's part of life, and I get that. But to put yourself in the position that you are already behind, guess what? You're going to only get that much more behind. Okay? So, where you start fresh, figure 20 weeks out. So if you don't start till 3 weeks from now, 20 weeks from that date, I don't care. But come to class, listen to class, and start fresh from there. Okay? So you're all with me tonight, so we've got 20 weeks from here. I figured first week of July we should be good. All right? It will be important to stay in touch with me weekly if you're having issues. If you're not having any issues, then simply respond to my email and say, Doreen, everything's good, okay? And if you haven't heard from me in a while, scream at me with an email that says, Doreen, I haven't heard from you in a while. Do you have my right email? Honestly, because between Amy's typing and my typing, we have dashes and underscores and hyphens and extra letters and numbers that shouldn't be there, okay? Sometimes we're on the phone and distracted and telling each other, you know, you have this patient, you have this student, okay? So please bear with us as we fine-tune the emails and that type of stuff. The best way to reach me, honestly, is email. I will get that quicker than a phone call, because if I'm in a client's office, I can't answer you. And I'm sure if I tried calling you at work, you couldn't take my phone call right away. I'm going to use email, okay? So email me. That's going to be the quickest way. And I will respond with simply, I'll answer that tonight, or I'll look at it by the weekend, or what have you. And if you really need it right away, and you say urgent in the subject line, it's still I still need at least a couple hours. Okay? Please? Good. All right. So, Rebecca, you can look on with Nancy for now. And actually, I don't even need my book. You guys have yours? Did she say your books were coming?
She said they were back ordered. The company had a huge back order, but she was expecting them next week. So she can say it.
Okay, just take it. I have an extra one at home. I just can't guarantee what page we're going to be on. Did I cover everything? Is that all the housekeeping? Yes.
Can I just ask one question?
No.
I thought it was, but, well, I'm going to ask it anyway. The final exam, it's through you, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. The final exam, we do what is called a mock exam.
Okay.
To prepare you for the national exam.
Okay.
The national exam is put on by the AAPC.
Okay.
And if you go on to Evolve, you will see under week 1 course lecture, there is the exam application that you can print off and just have it sitting with your stuff, because we're going to be talking about it probably in about 6 weeks. I usually start talking about it because I'm starting you to think about what exam you're going to sit for. So I'll start looking to see when the exams are come the fall. But usually around week 20, when we're finishing up the course, we're doing a pre-exam, a post-exam, and then we schedule a mock exam, which is the final for the class. So yes, I need those scores on your assignment checkoff sheets. All right, those are part of your grades here.
Is the mock exam 5 hours and 40 minutes long, like
Yes.
the real thing? Where does
So
it
is the
physically
pre
happen?
and the post. I schedule a time to bring you all together.
Oh, okay.
So I proctor that, okay? But it's all in preparation for the national exam. The national exam, if for some reason you do not pass the first time, and the only reason you wouldn't would be time management, because when you get there, you will know your stuff. It's time management. That is the biggest reason why most people do not pass, is time management, okay? You do have a second chance to take it. That's part of all your course fees, okay?
So part of the fee for when we're paying is the original exam, the national, and a second time if we need.
If you need it, yeah.
Okay.
Do we go somewhere and do this, or we do it on the computer?
No, it will actually be, they have locations throughout Maine and New Hampshire. So Bangor, Lewiston, Portland, Dover, New Hampshire, Derry, New Hampshire, Manchester, New Hampshire. We'll have to look on the AAPC website and find out where they have them. And I usually bring a list to class about midway through so we can start talking about where they're going to be, so you can start thinking about when you're going to be ready, where you want to sit for it, getting that exam application filled out, and sending it in to Amy because she's the one that sets all that up. Okay?
And you only take it once in life, once you're licensed, you're licensed?
Then you have to keep up CEUs.
So there are three, the post, and the actual, and they're each 5 hours and
40 minutes. The pre and post you do on your own, at home.
Doreen, I got a question.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm in Washington State. I'm nowhere near
Okay.
you guys. So it's okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So what's going to happen is you can probably join us by Danburg if you want.
Okay.
And you can sit for 5 hours and 40 minutes with us and do it at your house.
Okay.
Or we can set up another time.
Okay, I was just making sure.
Figure it out. Yep, we'll figure it out, and then we'll see what exams are around your location.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Oh, no, I'm fine. I'm just whispering. No, I'm bumming because I thought you would be like the proctor and you give them, but that's fine.
No.
That's fine.
No. Sorry.
I know. Well, you're just going to have to be certified to do it. No, that's okay. I just was thinking what would be.
I think by that time you'll have had enough of me.
Yeah. Well, it's just you get comfortable with someone,
Yeah.
you know, and you're not as nervous or, you know.
Whether I'm proctoring or not, you're going to be nervous
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah,
so it
you're
doesn't
right.
matter.
Yeah, you're right. I don't want to think about it.
Okay, don't go there.
Yeah.
Honestly, don't go there. Okay, because we have to take this first step tonight, which is getting through chapter 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
So really, we've done well. We're only into 40 minutes of class, and we've covered all that. That's good. Class is usually 3 hours. There will be times where we're not here the full 3 hours, and there will be times where we are dead to the minute. Okay. When we get into the workbook and we start working with reports, we will be doing reports in class, which is actually where I'm at with the last session. So you would have seen that, but you'll get to experience it.
I'll look forward to it.
We'll be doing more reports in class. If you end up going into a specialty, all of this is good foundational knowledge, okay? You guys already have a great foundation. Now you're going to add on top of that. And you can't go wrong with that. All right, so turn to Adams, Coding and Reimbursement, Chapter 5. And I'm not sure what page that is.
149 or so.
149 or so. Sounds good. We're talking about understanding insurance policies. So I'll be interested to hear how insurance policies are in the hospital setting, because I can share you some horror stories in the outpatient setting. So what are some of our objectives here in the class for Chapter 5? We're going to describe some carrier reimbursement systems, and Faith is actually going to tell us about that one, right?
Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Poorly, but I'll do it. And have another seizure, probably.
Describing the insurance carrier policies, understanding our relative value studies, how many really love that one, and determining the allowed amounts. So, health insurance. Basically, we have health insurance to do what? It offsets the high costs, right? And it's usually the high costs of what happens when we're sick, or usually when we have an injury that occurs.
Medical care.
Yep, medical care. So it's a contract between the policyholder and a third-party payer, basically to reimburse the policyholder for the services by the healthcare professionals. And then it's usually available to your individuals, your groups, or your prepaid plans. So what are some of the types of insurance that we have? We have health, we have disability, we have liability, we have malpractice, we have property, and we have life. So what do you see a lot of in the hospital setting, ladies?
Medicare, government, retirement.
Yep, government, retirement,
HMOs.
HMOs. Yeah. So some of the payment methods are your insurance policies. And the first thing we need to know is the fee schedules. And how do we find out the fee schedules?
Ask the carrier.
We can ask a carrier, we can go on their website, we can hopefully get it in our contract when we see the contracts. The payer usually determines which type of fee schedule that they're going to use. They usually try to follow Medicare fee schedules and then, a certain percentage above that. It's going to depend on your setting, outpatient versus hospital, and we will get into that later on with the QIO and non-QIO and such. Some of your payers use the usual, customary, and reasonable method, which is also known as the UCR method. This usually means that the insurance company will look at some of the other physicians that are in the same geographic location and specialty to determine what is most commonly charged. So if you have all of your family practitioners, the fee schedule that is determined is going to be based on that geographic location, the family practitioners in that area, and what are some of the common fees for some of the procedure codes. The payers will also take into account any unusual circumstances that might surround those charges. And then they will, again, this will be part of how they determine and base the criteria for the fees. What is the RVU? The RVU is a relative value system, and it is the most commonly used system by the insurance companies. It basically uses the physician's work component, the overhead practice expense, and the cost of the malpractice insurance. This is where I was talking about what you were going to share with us, Faith, because you did such a great job in the last class.
Would that I remembered what I had said.
I know, you wouldn't.
What was number one, honey? I have overhead practice expense, malpractice. It was the physician
work component.
Thank you.
What's his hourly rate?
That's funny because reading this, the manager that I work, I don't really work under him, but I do the work for his group. He always comes over and says a lot of this budget stuff to me, and I'm trying to pretend I know what he's talking about, but I kind of do a little. But he always shares and he enlightens me and shows me his sheets, and this is what I'm looking at. And I need to have this much money per day, so I'm like, this is what he's talking about.
Pretty much. If he's using all kinds of sheets, then
well, no, it was just like he said. I go, well, what is that based on? And he said it's based on the office, like exactly. Well, what does it say here?
Right, the physician work component, the overhead practice.
Yeah,
expense.
the overhead practice, malpractice insurance, and that's what he had said to me.
Yeah. So basically, the doctor, how many staff members I have, what's it cost to keep the lights on, the malpractice insurance, the payroll expenses, the water, the phone, all of those expenses, yes, exactly.
So he looks at every day, he'll go, oh my God, we have a storm day. Oh my God, we'll make it up next week.
Right. He should really know how many patients it takes to create that income.
Yeah.
So in a chiropractic office, I can tell you that between 450 and 700 patients a week covers your overhead expenses on a practice that's roughly 2,000 square feet with one physician and 4 staff members. Covers your overhead expenses and then gives you a little wiggle room. Anything smaller than that, we can talk about numbers then, but you should know what your patient visits are needed to cover that overhead, and on a daily, weekly basis, that kind of thing.
How does one physician see 100 patients a day to get up to 700 patients per week?
It depends on the type of practice. If you have a physician who is just strictly get in and get out type of adjusting, they can easily see between 450 and 700 a week with a 5-day work week.
That's just astonishing.
It is, but it can be done. It's
Your
crazy,
notes
but it can
aren't
be
very
done.
good, though.
It depends.
Okay.
It depends on the practice and the patients and the physician and the specialty.
Yeah.
You know, because I have one practice that sees 15 to 20 patients a day, and the doctor's perfectly fine with that. That's fine, as long as they're meeting their overhead, and you know so it just depends. Okay. So with these three things, the RVU is then multiplied by a conversion factor. And that conversion factor helps to get what is called the allowed amount. So let's just say, for instance, I charge $45 for a service, but the allowed amount on that happens to only be $37.98. That's all figured out by the physician work components, the overhead, the malpractice, and the conversion factor to come up with an allowed amount. How do they do that? Every geographic region is different. So northern Maine versus southern Maine versus central, eastern, okay? We all have our different regions. Those RVUs are all different. The conversion factors are all different. If you get into big time management in the practice, then you will probably be doing more of this. So Celeste, that's probably why your manager comes to you and talks to you, and you just look at him and say, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I was getting it a little, but this really explains it more, because he did say that, and now I'm like, oh, that's what he's talking about. And then he's like, snow days, oh, that killed us, we'll make it up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when that happens, as a team, what should happen is, okay, the day before, if you know, okay, I'll give you, for instance, this Friday, we've got a snow day coming up. I guarantee you we have a snow day coming up, all right? So, in a really good practice, and Ruth can attest to this, you will call and pre-schedule those patients. You will say, I'm calling to reschedule your appointment for Friday. We're expecting that the snow will be, you know, undrivable, whatever you want to say. Because what you're doing is you are recreating that lost revenue. You're making it up on another day. Instead of going in and having all those patients cancel and you can't fit them in. So if you're really on top of the ball and you're working as a team, you're already thinking about that, and you're thinking ahead, and you're going to reschedule them anyway. And that's how you make up for that lost revenue. Would you agree? Yeah, we did that. We had to do that several times, and it works awesome. And I don't care what specialty you're in. Now, the hospital might be a little different, but I think any specialty, it would behoove them to be thinking ahead in that manner and really planning that ahead. I had a vet appointment for my dog on Monday. Now, we only got 6 inches, but they were planning on me being there. And that's fine. But what about those people who don't want to travel in that type of weather? Call ahead and give them the option. Know who your patients are ahead of time and think about them. You know what? They're going to think more about the fact that you know they don't like to drive in the snow or at night than the fact that you call them to say they missed an appointment.
They did do that once at my office. I heard them on the front desk walking by. I work way out back, but because we have an older population of people.
Yep.
So I know they have done that. Or I heard the MAs do it.
Yep.
Because they're closer to me than the front desk.
Yeah, it's definitely worth looking into or considering. So, what are your usual, customary, and reasonable plans? Your usual fee is the fee that is most often charged by the physician, whether it's $35, $45, $55, $65, $75, depends on the specialty, depends on what the usual fee is. Customary fee. This is most often charged by other physicians of similar training and experience. So just because a chiropractor in Portland charges $45 doesn't mean a chiropractor in Biddeford is going to charge $45. But they might fall within the same demographic region that when the usual and customary fees are set by the payers, there will just be that one fee. Okay? Reasonable fee is the amount that the insurance company basically considers appropriate for these providers for a certain service or procedure. Does it mean it's always fair? No. All right? Questions? We're good? I know I keep moving out of the picture. I don't mean to. Insurance health plans. These are your HMOs, your PPOs, and your indemnity plans. So when we talk about commercial claims, what are some examples of commercial carriers? What can you think of, Rebecca?
Blue Cross.
Blue Cross. Nancy?
Harvard.
Harvard. Celeste?
Aetna.
Faith?
United.
United. Lori?
Medicaid.
Medicaid is the government. Mail handlers, Prudential. Who else? UMR. Geisinger. Maine Community Health Options.
Cigna.
Yep, Cigna. Starbridge Plan. Connecticut General Life.
United Healthcare, did we say that?
Yes. And the list goes on.
And each one of those will have their own UCR list?
Yes. Yes. They vary just a little bit.
So in our offices, we're going to have the UCR list for all of these places?
It'll be it's going to be pre-populated in your program, in your software program.
Yeah,
So,
we don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Our RVUs come right up and we put our codes in.
Yeah. So it's not anything you have to sit there and figure out or
where'd I
anything
put my
like
Cigna
that.
book?
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's just helpful that every year you do get a new fee schedule, because if you have a program that you can go in and update the allowed amounts so that you can figure out the patient's portion more accurately, that's helpful. But you know, these new programs are coming out with more and more updates and extras that help us. So that's nice. Your commercial claims also include your HMOs, which are your health maintenance organizations, and your fee-for-service claims. Be aware, though, that there are changes made by the payers throughout the year. So just because January came around and we had some changes with all of those new health plans, you know, Geisinger has a $2,000 deductible with 20% coinsurance. That's one plan that I know of. Or another one that I verified today was a $4,000 deductible with a 30% coinsurance with only 20 visits. Your Maine Community Health Option plan, I think this was the silver level. And this was a $500 deductible with a 20% coinsurance and pre-auth after the 8th visit.
And how were you expected to know that?
I don't. I just call and do an insurance verification. Okay. But when you do it enough, you remember these things. Okay. At one point, I could tell you by the Blue Cross prefix what they had for benefits. You know, you get to know your employer groups and the different prefixes and what they cover. Okay, like Federal Blue Cross. That has never changed in the 15 years that I have been in chiropractic. You always get 12 visits and a copay. and 1 exam and 1 set of x-rays. And they'll cover up to 12 visits for physiotherapies. So the only thing that's really changed is the copay has gone from $5 to $25. It's increased $5 every year. That's about the yep.
And so you're telling us all this, but this doesn't really pertain to coding. This is more the billing portion of it.
This is the billing
or
side.
Even the referral side of it, or the
Right.
front desk.
Right.
This is more stuff that you kind of need to know behind the scenes. You kind of need to know how it works.
Right.
On one hand,
right.
It's good to work in billing and then coding.
It's good to know, yes.
But it doesn't really pertain to the coding portion of it, what we do,
Right.
for instance.
Right.
Okay.
It's not anything that's going to be on your national exam at all. What it is good for is that when you leave here, you have a certificate for both medical billing and coding, so that when you're applying for jobs, as you said earlier, Celeste, it makes you more marketable. So even though you're in the field already, say you want to go to a billing department, this helps you with that certification that you are a medical biller. So knowing, again, you're probably doing some of this stuff already. You probably are handling some of this stuff already. Yes, no, maybe?
I did in the billing. I worked billing.
Okay.
I worked billing for like 8 years, billing and coding.
Okay.
And then I worked at the front desk for like 8 years, and now I'm back into coding. So I've seen all of that.
Yeah.
And I worked that in billing.
Yeah.
I worked behind the scenes. You had to know the insurances, what they covered, who was paying what, and who to call. And,
right.
Yeah. So.
Right.
She worked at the front desk for a long time, so she had to deal with the copays and knowing how to enter the insurances and things like that. But
I think this is really good because
it's good to know. Yeah, it's good.
We don't see that side.
Right.
At all.
And I feel like sometimes we're lost. I mean, we know our job, but I want to know what's going on that side. And is my claim getting denied? Is it getting paid? Is it, and that's what I kind of feel lost about. And every business does stuff differently.
That's right. Yeah. Every business does stuff differently. Mm-hmm. And when I go into practices, I encourage cross-training, because I can't help your practice if your back office and your front desk are not communicating. If your front desk does not know what they need to collect at the front, then my back end is going to be a mess. When I go into a practice and I have a $200,000 AR, I am like, are you kidding me? It sends up red flags galore. And guess what the biggest thing is? That communication between the front and the back. Mm-hmm. Because neither one is willing to work with the other one to figure out what's going on. So the front's entering the charges, or the back's entering the charges and sending out the claims, the front's not collecting, statements aren't going out, or statements are going out and no one's following up. I mean, it is a mess, So you need the cross-training. You need to understand how it starts at the front. Even if you never do it, you should understand the flow, the process. Okay, so how many have seen that cartoon about how to make a bill? Remember that one?
Yeah.
I'm dating myself, but it's about how to make a bill. What?
On Capitol Hill.
Yes, how to make a bill on Capitol Hill.
I'm thinking.
I must be dating myself too.
Schoolhouse Rock, man.
Schoolhouse
It was
Rock,
awesome.
yes. Okay, that's how I look at billing and coding. Because you can sit here and code all day long, but if you don't understand what your front end is doing with it to get to you, you're just doing some paper pushing.
Plugging in numbers.
Plugging in numbers, data entry.
Exactly.
So you will be able to be more marketable when you leave here. Okay? And if you're already in the field, or have been in the field, or looking to get in the field, you will at least know the difference between a copay and a coinsurance. So that when you get asked, what is a copay and a coinsurance, You better darn well know. That's all I can tell you. That I had someone they were asked that question in an interview, and they didn't answer it. They couldn't know how to answer it. I'm like, are you kidding? I know we covered that in class. So you will know a copay and a co-insurance. Okay. Primary claim submission. What page are we on?
56.
About 56? Primary claim submission. We just talked about commercial claims.
The book actually heads into Blue Cross Blue Shield and central certification programs.
Okay.
And then TRICARE.
Well, this is just a little tidbit in between. You might not have that in your book. This is just about primary claim submission. So when we submit the claim, we're going to submit it for the patient that is covered by that plan. And usually, if they have dependents, we submit a claim for them. If the patient is covered by a large employer group, which is also known as EGHP, Employer Group Health Plan, and then they are a Medicare beneficiary. That's another type of claim submission. If the patient is covered by a small or large employer group, but they're listed as a dependent on another employer group health plan. Okay, let's talk about that one for a minute. So I am a dependent on my husband's plan. Our children are still dependents on my husband's plan. He is part of a large employer group health plan, Aetna. So a claim that is submitted for them, for medical services or health services, they are listed with their name on the claim, and he is the primary subscriber, and they are listed as dependents. That's what that means. Or if a child is covered by 2 or more plans, let's just say, for instance, the primary plan happens to be United Healthcare. The secondary happens to be Maine Care. Okay, you can have that type of claim submission. It's going to go to the primary first. Sometimes it crosses over to the secondary. Other times it has to get processed by hand where it gets put to paper. A copy of the remit from the first insurance goes with that and gets sent out to the secondary. We also have Medicare as our primary plan with a secondary, like AARP, Secure Horizons, mail handlers. Some Aetna, not a lot that I see. United Healthcare, Anthem as a secondary to Medicare. Did I say Aetna? Yeah. So Medicare, you usually have some secondaries. Those usually do automatically cross over. But if you see an Aetna and a Medicare, so Aetna primary, Medicare secondary, that doesn't always cross over, which is very frustrating.
So you're going to see the explanation of benefits from the first one.
Yes.
And then at the bottom of that, it's going to say, and then that it has submitted it to the secondary
It
insurance.
will have a little line. It will have a little line that says claim forwarded to, yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
So if you see that, then you know you don't have to do anything. But if you don't see that, you usually have to submit a claim, drop it to paper. What I say, drop to paper, print it, put it to paper, make a copy of that remit that you just got in, and send it to the secondary. And then what I do is I put it in a tickler file so I can follow up in it in 30, 45 days. Because you can't always trust that.
Things are going to happen.
Right. Right? Okay, so Blue Cross and Blue Shield plans. This is the biggest carrier in the state of Maine, and I know the Maine Community Health Option plans are pretty much following in line with the Blue Cross Blue Shield plans. So for as many Blue Cross plans, you will probably see as many Maine Community Health Option plans. I see it more from the provider side. Go ahead.
It was today, I think.
Did you?
Did you
Yeah,
say
we
Maine
have-
Community Health?
Maine Community Health.
I think I saw
Yep.
it was today. I was wondering, because I didn't know what that was.
Yep.
So that's a.
MCHO.
Yeah, we have a lot of those people.
Yeah, I see those.
So that's through Blue Cross?
Actually,
Or is that an Obama plan?
no, it's part of the Obama Affordable Care Act.
Is that what it is?
It is.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And
What is it again?
Maine Community Health Options, MCHO,
Yeah, I've seen.
And that's
quite a
the
few.
state, our state's version of Obamacare.
Affordable Care, yes.
Oh,
Yes,
I
so,
was wondering. I didn't know, because we bill differently for Medicare and Maine Care than we do for all other private insurances. So
Yeah.
differently, I mean just different codes. I
Yeah.
mean, same codes, but
right,
something on the end. Just, we're billing in the same amount, but we have to bill it differently because we have split billing and all that.
Right.
So I didn't know if that was a Medicare type plan,
no,
because you see so many of them come through
Right.
with all different names. And I was wondering what that was. That's good to know.
right. You can actually go right to their website, Maine Community Health Options website, and you can see on there, it gives you information for providers and forms and stuff like that. But basically, it's where the consumers can go and see if they can afford health care and what it will cost them and what type of plans. And when I say that it falls in line with the Anthem plans, I look at the level of plans that the Maine Community Health Options offers versus the level of plans that Blue Cross offers, and they're pretty comparable as far as having high deductibles, co-insurance amounts, visit limits, and the stuff that they cover. You just have to look at what they are. So they have the silver and the gold and standard and that type of stuff.
I know we just skipped over this part, but it's going to drive me crazy for the rest of the
Okay.
night. How would you have responded to the question, please explain to me the difference between copays and coinsurance?
Oh, a copay is a set dollar amount.
Sorry, just me. It
A
was gonna drive
copay is
me
a
nuts.
set dollar amount ranging anywhere from $5 to $50
And that's per visit paid by the patient as they go.
sometimes, or for an exam. There's an exam copay. Just depends on the service. A coinsurance is a percentage of what the patient is responsible for. So some of your insurances cover 70, 80, 90%. The patient is responsible for 10, 20, 30%. Again, it depends on the service.
So they can purchase a separate insurance policy to pay that extra 10, 20, 30%?
If they are a Medicare beneficiary, that is what their secondary will usually do. Yes.
Do regular people, and forgive me
No.
for not knowing this, you guys,
No.
regular people don't have co-insurance? That's
Yes.
just they have to write a check?
They have coinsurance, which is their responsibility. They don't have a second plan always that will cover that coinsurance.
So the copay is the specific amount, the per visit or per exam fee,
Yep.
and then the coinsurance is the percentage, that which was not covered by the insurance plan?
Correct.
Thank you. That's-
Or if you had a partner, you can make sure you get their insurance and your insurance, and it's all paid. But
No, that was a great
I made
point.
sure I did that when I was gonna have a baby.
Yeah.
I planned that. Like, okay, I'm gonna take yours and yours, because you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's cost.
My still married husband is in the military, or retired military, so it just kind of all happens magically, and I don't understand it.
Oh, you'll see it in Anthem.
Yeah.
And the copay is usually paid up front.
Yeah.
Co-insurance is usually paid on the back end, when you get the bill. Right.
So when you say you look at you go into the practice to do your consulting and it has a $200,000 AR, that's because the front desk isn't informing the patients, we need your
Oh,
copay amount?
it's a
we need
team
your-"
thing. It's not just one area.
Well, but it's not collecting the copays at the time of visit, and it's not advising them about the coinsurance? or-
There's no collecting going on anywhere. How's that?
Okay.
Pretty much front and back.
But they usually blame the front desk.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yes.
But the front desk is typically responsible for taking the copay, the
Yes.
per visit fee, and then the other piece of it is something that is billed at the end of
The
it.
insurance,
Okay.
yes, yes. So my goal is to get the two working synergistically so that you've got that over counter the collections happening all the time, not just some of the time. And the back office communicating with the front when there might be a balance so that you don't have to send out statements. How cool is that?
Can you go talk to Mercy?
I would love to.
Oh my God, they need you.
Yeah, we would love you to.
Yeah,
I would be
it's
happy
just not-
to.
I don't know what they're doing. It's not working. Sorry.
Okay. So your Blue Cross plans, you have fee for service, you have the indemnity, the managed care, the away from home care, your FEPs, which I mentioned earlier, were your federal blue plan, and your Medicare supplemental plan. So we've kind of touched upon some of this already. Your basic coverage is everything we know: hospitalization, diagnostic labs, x-rays, surgical fees, obstetric services, intensive care, newborn care, chemotherapy. Those are your basic coverage options. Your major medical, these are usually your office visits, your outpatient non-surgical services, your DMEs, which are your durable medical equipment, physical and occupational health, mental health, which we all need sometimes, allergy testing and injections, private duty nursing, and dental care, usually as a result of an accident. Those would be some major medical type of stuff. Your indemnity coverage, this is usually giving you flexibility. Usually it includes hospital only or some comprehensive hospital and medical coverage. Indemnity is what? Huge accident type of stuff, all right? When you have some unforeseen something happen. Your coinsurance usually is covered, and this, with your indemnity coverage, you should select a primary care provider.
So indemnity is catastrophic type things?
Pretty much, catastrophic. So those Blue Cross plans that come in with the 5,000, the 10,000,
Yeah,
the
okay.
3,000, those are your indemnity coverage.
So, I used to register patients before I got into coding, and I collected the co-pays and all that. And it's like they gave me the card, and I'm like, we're just going to bill you. I feel like I wish I knew, well, I could have found out, but anyway. But yeah, a lot of people came in with those plans.
Yeah. So how I handle that in outpatient setting is a lot of the patients today have HSAs or HRAs or whatever you want to call them. Now, the insurance companies are telling them that we cannot collect up front, that we're supposed to bill the HRA and then collect. Now, a couple of years back, you could collect. And I understand why they are encouraging their patients not to do that. I get that. So what I have gone to doing is, when I know what the allowed amount is, and I know exactly what they're having for services, I will say to them, well, Celeste, your insurance covers $46.49 on these charges that you have today, and you had the exact same thing. Would you like to pay that today, or you want me to wait for the remit to come in? Now, a lot of patients don't like a large bill, and I don't like to send out statements. I really don't. So you can either put it on your account today, and when the HRA comes back and asks for a copy of your services for that day, because they want to know exactly what you paid for, I can give you the detail that shows you didn't pay anything more than you absolutely had to, because that's what they're looking at. They're looking at, did we overcharge you?
What does HRA stand for? I know
Health
HSA is Health Savings Account.
Health reimbursement account or health savings account.
Okay.
Some people call it one or the other.
I have a question about that.
Yep.
working for Mercy, we have Geisinger. They're giving us, we actually work for Easton, whatever it is now.
Yeah, Eastern Maine.
Yeah, Eastern Maine. So they're giving us $2,000 HRA, is that
Yep.
what that is?
Yep.
Right up front.
Yep.
So are you saying when we go to the doctors, like I picked the in-system rewards plan, so when I go to the doctors, I only have to pay $25 copay?
Yep.
Should they be collecting that from me? If I tell them that I have an HRA? They should be, okay.
Yeah. If you know you have a $25 copay, number one, it's your responsibility to pay at time of service
Right,
because
I
that's
know.
what your contract states. And it's their responsibility to be collecting it. Number one, they're stupid if they don't because that's over-the-counter money that they're missing out on. And two, it's their agreement, being a participating provider, that they will be collecting at time of service. Your insurance plans, they don't want you to have to bill either. But what they don't train you on is how to collect.
I thought you just said that they were actually asking you not to collect if they had an
They're
HRA.
asking you not to collect the allowed
the
amount.
allowed, okay.
So if you come in and let's just say hypothetically your charges are $75 for today, but the allowed amount is only $46.49. They don't want me to collect that $75, which I completely understand. But if I am going to collect the allowed amount, because on the remit last time, it doesn't change, from visit to visit. I will say, the last time you were here and you had this, they allowed $46.49. Would you like to? But then you have those few patients who really don't want you to pay until that remit comes in. And I'm okay with that. As few as I have, the better. I don't mind just a handful. But when I have 200 patients and every patient wants to be billed, it costs money. So in one practice, I actually put out a sign that says, payment due at time of service per your contract with your insurance plan. Additional statements being sent to you will be an extra $1.50 charge. And then a percentage for balances over. So that practice is starting to see less and less statements going out.
That's private practice.
Yes. Yes. So you just have to know what the payer is asking and what you can legally be asking. So if I know you have a deductible up front, I cannot say, Faith, you have a deductible, it's $500, you haven't met that yet, you have to pay that to me today.
Because that would be asking them for the full.
Right, I cannot ask you for that. I can say, what would you like to put on your account today? Your charges are $75. We know you have a $500 deductible. As of the verification that I did today, you have not met any of that deductible. What would you like to put on your account so we don't have, to send you a large bill at the end of the month? That's how I approach it.
But there'll be a write-off, so they don't want you to.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I want to turn it around, number one, as a benefit to the patient. So, Lori, if you put something on your account today, if the insurance allows more than that, then we will use that credit towards your next visit. Okay, I always put it to the benefit of the patient so that they know. Even in the hospital setting, my mother has suffered from a stroke 6 years ago. And so you know how many visits you go in and out, in and out, in and out. So we're checking out, and I'm like, don't you want to collect something today? Oh, no, we don't have to.
Can I hand you my business card? You pass it to your boss.
So doesn't she have a copay today, though? Yeah, but we'll just send her a bill. Well, she'd like to pay that today. And this is, in the checkout at the hospital.
Wow. Yeah, but that sounds like somebody who didn't know what they were doing.
Right. So how about let's just put it on her account and you can still send us a bill if you need to. But
Why are they not doing that? That just
I
seems so
don't know.
straightforward.
I honestly don't know.
It depends on whether they get any training also.
Right.
And sometimes there's so many patients that checking in and it's just crazy in the phone. They may not have time. you know.
And they just don't know.
And sometimes they just don't know. I mean, some cards don't even have a copay on there. I have Federal Blue Cross Blue Shield. I know what my copay is, but it's not on there. I've had that, you know, for years.
We also didn't have a verification system.
Yeah.
Right.
And we don't work in the hospital.
Right.
We work more family practice. And
Right.
So, but we didn't have a verification system, so we couldn't verify what they, you know, I suppose after a while we did have an online one that worked sometimes and didn't, but, you know, didn't sometimes.
Right.
We didn't always have that verification, so we had to go by what was on their card.
Right.
And you don't always see hospital co-pays on cards, or
Right.
hospital co-insurances, or any, you know, you don't see that, so you don't always know what to ask for.
Right.
That's, in their defense, that's why.
Makes sense. I was just.
And I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So please understand, I'm not saying anything against the hospital setup. I see it from both sides and see where it can be one way or the other.
It's certainly an opportunity to smooth things out for the practice revenue.
It is.
Go into it straight.
Yeah.
Training is a huge thing.
And they just never want to give that time for training. At least that's in my opinion. Everything happens. Right. It's time and money, and yeah, they just.
When I was at the front desk, when I had those big indemnity cards, I would ask them, you know they're gonna have to pay. Would you like to put some money today down on the account?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I don't know what exactly it's going to be. You probably had tasks. You could have had a strap,
Right.
rapid strap, and put on there. So I don't know, you know. And at least they have something on there. And I was collecting something. I had money coming in.
Right.
But you know, like I said, some people don't want to do it at all. Some
Right.
people, it's so crazy busy, you can't. You know, if you're at the window alone, one person, you're doing labs, X-ray, you're doing check-in, check-out.
Yeah. So it's definitely an arena that I'm sure can be fine-tuned anywhere because private practice isn't perfect either. There's still room to grow everywhere. All right, so indemnity, we covered that. Managed care. Your managed care plans. These include your coordinated home health and the hospice cares. These are usually your EPOs, which are considered exclusive provider organizations. You don't have to select a primary care provider, but why would you not want to have a primary care provider? Usually with the EPOs, you do not need a referral from a specialist, and you can receive services only from an EPO provider. So you would have to make sure you saw your brochure or your booklet and found who was in that network. All right. Also with managed care, this is your HMO. Your HMO. Your HMO is the Health Maintenance Organization. This is usually stuff like outpatient pre-treatment authorization plans or OPAP. You've heard the acronym maybe. This is usually where you require pre-authorization of outpatient physical, occupational, and speech therapy. Your POS plans, that's a point of service plan. This usually provides you a choice of different providers to go to, but you do have to choose a PCP with the PPO plan or POS plans. And then with the POS plans, you can actually go in and out of network. And then you have the PPO plan, which is the preferred provider organization. These offer discounted services. This is also subscriber driven, and but with the PPO, you must remain in the network. All right, Champus. I think I'll take and go over the Champus, and then we'll take a small break. All right, with Champus, what page are we on with Champus?
160.
160. All right, Champus is the civilian health and medical program of the uniformed services, or as I just said, Champus, CHAMPUS.
Calling it Chapt VA here in the book.
There's Champ VA as well. And
different thing?
Champ VA actually replaces Champus. Okay, we'll get to that.
So is that TRICARE?
TRICARE.
Is Champus.
Champus,
Okay.
Champ VA, TRICARE. They're all the same. Deers. I don't know why they couldn't just find one name and stick with it. So Champus is valid for all of the 7 uniformed services. Your participants must be enrolled in the DEERS program. DEERS acronym stands for Defense Enrollment Reporting System. Don't ask me why there's another E in there.
It's for eligibility, Defense Enrollment Eligibility Reporting System.
See, I knew someone knew it.
Someone read it, honey. It's right here.
Okay. All Champus eligible people must have a military identification card that cannot expire, and it must say yes under the word civilian in the medical block. I think you have an example in your book there. I think it's on the back of the card. TRICARE is actually the name of the current program that meets the Champus law and its new way to administer benefits. TRICARE actually provides 3 options of coverage. This is the TRICARE standard, which is identical to the original Champus. Then you have TRICARE Extra, which is similar to a PPO. And your TRICARE Prime, which is similar to HMO.
Extra is a PPO, you said?
Extra is similar to a PPO.
TRICARE what? Prime?
TRICARE Prime is similar to an HMO.
Okay. And what was the other one?
TRICARE Standard is identical to the original Champus. So if nothing else, you guys will go back to work tomorrow full of new knowledge or confirmation that what you knew was already up there. TRICARE. All right, Champ VA. Champ VA is really taking the place of Champus. It's the same as TRICARE and Champus. It is valid for all 7 of the uniformed services. Now, it says that it's the same as TRICARE and Champus, but it's not part of the TRICARE program. It only covers anyone who
Is disabled.
Right.
Spouses and children
Yes.
and veterans with
Yes.
total
Yes.
permanent service-related disabilities.
Dependents.
Yes,
Someone that's been
dependents, someone who,
killed in the line of duty.
yes, thank you very much. Your Veterans Affairs, the VA provides comprehensive health care services as long as you don't have to go and sit and wait for 10 hours. That's not nice, but it's true. Sometimes, more often than not. I think that's the biggest gripe that I hear from veterans, is that they have to go and sit forever. Eligibility for VA services is determined by the discharge status, or what we've heard of it called the DD-214. There are priority groups that were established to allow the VA to best allocate its resources for Veterans Affairs. There are actually 8 priority groups, and one is given the highest priority. And this is how they look at their treatment and their benefits for the different veterans when they present for services. I think right here is a place to stop. We're going to go right into managed care, HMOs and PPOs after this. So if you want to get up, stretch, use the facilities, get a drink, get a snack. We'll be back in 10.
Where are the soda machines?
I don't know where there's a drink machine. I know the cafeteria, if you go out the entrance here where you came in and go down the hallway, the cafeteria is all the way up that way. But there is a kitchen here. Across the hall. Across
there's
the
a kitchen and-
entrance.
Oh, the soda machine?
Yeah,
I don't know, I've never been out there.
I'll show you.
You know, like most of the coders,
It's not the most efficient way to do it.
they work at home or they work like at a hub, not in the hospital. Like all the primary practices.
I work at home.
Yeah, she works at
Oh,
home.
you work at home?
I work at home and in the office. I have a desk in Wyndham at the Rotary, at that primary care, and then I work at home also.
Yeah.
So I work remotely from my desktop.
Nice.
Yeah, it is nice. I deserve it after all the years I've been there. I deserve to work at home.
That is nice.
It is
That's why
nice.
I love what I
It
do.
takes some time to get used to it, and you have to really, yeah, I love it too. I shut the TV off. It's usually just me and the dog. If I turn the TV on, if that's on at all, I can't concentrate.
I usually have my stereo on, so I
Yeah.
have some music in the background.
Some music.
Yeah, that's what I do
And then
if I work at home.
Then I'm working from home.
It's nice to be home with my dog. He's just turned a year old. He's a golden retriever. And we got
I
him
have
as a
two
puppy. Do you?
Goldens.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hellion. He's and so I don't like crating him all day long when I'm at work. I hate it. But you know, I have to sometimes when I'm at work. Like tomorrow I have to go in town for a meeting, so he'll be crated most of the day. It's so nice to be able to be home and not crate him. And I'm hoping he gets to an age soon that he can not be crated, but I don't quite
You have
trust
two
him
what?
yet.
2 labs, 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Girls.
I have a
And I
4-year-old.
love it when mom's home.
Mine's a boy. I know, I'm thinking I should get him a companion, but my husband will probably divorce me if I do.
Oh,
And he's hairy. Oh, why didn't I get a non-shedding dog? I
Goldens
keep
are
asking
hairy.
myself that every day. I have rubber
Brush them
couches,
all the time.
and there's so much hair on them that I don't even want to sit on them. I have to vacuum them a couple of times a week, and that's not
Yeah.
enough, really.
I know. I have 2.
I've just
Times
gotten
that
used to
by
it.
2.
But he must be wonderful company for you.
He's great. And my daughter's the one that pushed us, my youngest daughter. She's still at home. She wanted a dog, and she convinced her father, who then told me she convinced him, right, this is what she does. She had to have this dog. Well, now he's our dog, so. And the cats. She's brought home 2 cats and a dog.
At least you only got one home. I've got 10 living in my house.
Oh my word.
10 animals?
No, kids.
You must want to
I
go
thought
to
you
work.
said
You have 6 of your own, and then you
I
have
have 6 of my children that I gave birth to, and my grandson. Then I have 2 significant others that, well, they don't have any place to live. Can we just move them in?
oh gosh.
That's why I'm leaving for North Carolina. Yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to turn my upstairs into an apartment,
Oh,
I think.
bless you.
I've decided. Because,
House is a crazy house.
yeah. Mine's usually crazy. I have 5 grandchildren. So every weekend, and this is why another reason why it took me so long to take the course, I think. I don't want to give up that time. I'm at an age where I'm like, I want to just enjoy, you see how fast they grow up.
Mm-hmm.
Once your kids are grown and you have grandkids, you're like, oh. So they come over and they ice skate, and they usually come over on Sundays, and
Grandbabies are the best.
I have a pool in the summer, so they come over in the pool, and I just don't want to give up my time.
Right.
But
Well, this was a perfect time to take the course.
That's what I
Winter.
thought.
Winter, yes.
But camping, that's what I'll be doing the second week of July with the grandkids, camping.
Good.
So I'll have to take a day and come home.
We'll see where we're
Yeah,
at.
we'll see where we're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump into managed care. All right, I think this is Wells or Noble. Do you guys know from term who that is?
I can't see the little.
I think they were in the medical center.
They were, but I don't remember.
I don't know all the people that were online.
Do you want me to do that?
What is that?
All right. Okay, testing. You ladies can hear me? Thumbs up? Good job, thank you. Okay, managed care, HMOs and PPOs. We have already touched upon this a little bit, talked about managed care being what? This is where we get interactive because I get tired of talking.
Managed care is like home health, hospice, you need a provider?
Right. We
You
have
need a
an
PPO?
organization of healthcare providers that gives people the healthcare, and they're usually the gatekeeper. They're the ones that are controlling the cost of all of our healthcare because they have to refer us out for our services, you know, like OBGYN, podiatry, chiropractic.
So managed care, isn't that like HMO? I mean, isn't
It
it?
is.
Yeah.
It is. Your
So-
managed cares are your HMOs.
So you have to have a PPO, you have to have referrals, you have to
You
have
have to
prior
have a
auths.
PCP, prior auth, that type of stuff. Yes.
Doreen,
Yes.
can you tell me what page you're on?
161.
161.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is it true, the less they refer you out, they get kickbacks, your doctor? Or the office does?
Yes.
Yeah.
Only they call them incentives, I think.
Right,
call
well,
it, yeah.
I call them a kickback, but
Yeah.
my doctor told me that.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that's why you won't let me go to another doctor.
So usually an HMO is a prepaid group practice that's sponsored by the government and the insurance companies, the consumer groups, and that type of stuff. It usually will provide a specific range of inpatient and outpatient services to its members. Your managed care organizations are responsible for the group enrollees. It's usually financed by capitation. I haven't seen a lot of capitation plans in a while. I don't know, do you see them in the hospital?
I don't do that portion of it anymore. We used to do
Okay.
capitated plans. Back when
Okay.
I was in the billing office,
Yeah.
we did capitated plans.
I haven't seen them in a while, a long while.
I don't know if they even have them anymore, do they?
Far and few between, very far and few between. A capitated plan is where it's a set dollar amount. It's cut off at a set dollar amount. The care is the care is the care. You reach that amount, it's done.
Did the doctors lose a lot of money doing that?
Yes,
So
they did, yes. So your managed care organization plan can also be a health plan by a hospital physician, physician group or health system. So let's say Mercy or Maine Health or whatever, they've all come together and created this managed care plan, like Geisinger. Who renders the care? Well, the PCP, and that stands for primary care provider, primary care physician. You usually select from a list of participating providers, usually in your geographic region. They are the people who are responsible for supervising and coordinating the care, as I just mentioned, the gatekeeper, okay? Quality assurance is mandated by both federal and state legislation. And usually it is accountable for standards. Utilization management, we use this, you see it more in the mid-size practices and up. This is where we are controlling costs and the quality of the care by reviewing the necessity of the care before the care is even rendered. So this is where, when we get into documentation later on, we will talk about medical necessity, okay? Just because a patient comes in and says they need sutures doesn't mean they always need sutures. Or, you know, they have a headache doesn't mean they need to have a prescription for oxycodone.
Oxy something, I don't
Yeah.
know what it's called. Sorry.
So your utilization management activities consists of your pre-admission certification, your pre-authorization, your concurrent review, and your discharge planning. With your workers' compensation plans, what page are we on for workers' comp, ladies?
167.
167,
And
thank you.
166.
166, 167. All right, workers' compensation plans. These are governed by state law. They cover work-related illnesses, injuries, and deaths. And some work comp cases can take forever. Some work comp cases you can get lifetime care covered. Some work comp cases you can just get a settlement. Some, they're crazy. But they're like personal injuries as well. Usually employers with more than 4 employees are required to provide workers' comp benefits.
Now in the state of Maine, it's 1. If you have an employee, you have to have workers' comp. My husband's self-employed.
And he has to have workers' comp?
If he has 1 person work for him, he has to provide workers' comp insurance.
And if they're a relative, he doesn't necessarily have to.
His own blood relative.
Right.
Can't be. His sons can be there. His brother can't.
Right. Your employers, they usually pay the entire cost of the premium. The employers do not admit negligence by providing benefits, but you, the employee, in return, give up the right to sue. Did you know that?
I think I did. They passed that law like 10 or 15 years ago, right?
Yes.
A while ago.
Yes. Your medical care is covered for the work-related condition as long as the case is active. And you as employees are responsible for reporting injuries in a timely fashion. So what do you think is a timely fashion?
30, 60 days?
24 hours?
Usually 72 hours.
Oh, to report it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's 72 hours?
Yeah, that's the last I knew. It was 72 hours. You had 72 hours to report a work injury. And completing the accident reports. So it doesn't mean you just go to your supervisor and expect them to fill them out. Although they should say to you, here's the packet, fill it out. You need to go to your employer, get an M1 form, get an authorization to be treated, go to the work comp doctor. It might be Concentra or WorkMed, or they might send you somewhere first. Now, did you know that after the 10-day grace period or 10-day period, you have the right to go where you want to? The first 10 days, they can tell you where to go. Not figuratively.
So to speak.
But within the first 10 days, they can say, I want you to go to WorkMed, or I want you to go to WorkWell, or Concentra, or wherever it is. They have their physicians or people lined up. After those 10 days, you have the right to say, I want to go to my own doctor, or I want to go to so-and-so. Now, that doesn't mean they have to agree, but they can't write out refuse. And even if they do, you still have that 10-day period where after the 10 days you can go. They might deny it too. Then you have to appeal it. But a little bit of information not everyone knows. Authorizations for work comp are always required for work comp claims. So not only do you have to report it and your supervisor has to report it, and then HR has to report it to the work comp carrier, which might be Hartford Insurance or Travelers Insurance or Progressive or whoever has Hanover work comp insurance. And if there's an emergency, you must get authorization from the employer. The initial visit, you must get authorization from the insurance carrier or the employer. And any subsequent visits, you should have authorization from the insurance carrier. How many have had to do a disability type work comp issue?
My daughter's going through it right now.
Pain in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Does she have an advocate?
She's about to settle. She's been 2 years out of work.
So frustrating.
People used to come in when I was registering them, and because every injury, probably your workers' comp insurance may go up, they go, oh, don't report it. I'll just pay. Give it to my boss. I don't want him. I said, no, that's against the law. I can't do that. Sorry.
A lot of the smaller, like, self-employed people will come in and they'll be like, they don't want to tell anybody because they don't want their boss to have to claim it.
Right.
Or maybe they'll fire the guy or something. Maybe it's been a couple times.
Right.
Or he'll say, don't tell him.
Oh, gosh. Okay, I didn't hear any of that.
No.
Disability insurance. Disability insurance most often will provide income replacement coverage, but occasionally can include medical care. It usually only covers illnesses or injuries that are not covered by workers' comp. It's probably aside from the next thing. We're going right into disability insurance. It shouldn't be in Chapter 6.
Well, we're on 169 it says there are 3 types of state workers' comp claims: non-disability, temp disability, and permanent disability.
Okay, so we're talking about disability right there.
All right.
Right on that page, 160 what?
9.
169, okay? So disability insurance, again, it will not replace more income than what was actually earned. If you do, for some reason, have to go for disability insurance, pre-existing conditions are generally excluded, okay? So if you have a back injury previously and you go out on a back injury, I can tell you it's one heck of a fight. Most of your policies do have a waiting period before benefits begin, and there are usually 2 types of policies that are offered: short-term and long-term. And you have to fill out paperwork every so many visits to get authorization for even keeping those benefits payable. All right, and that should be it for Chapter 5. So far, so good?
So will we be having tests, like, on these chapters?
On Evolve.
On Evolve.
You have tests on Evolve, and then you mark your scores on your assignment checkoff sheet.
So we just go into Evolve on our own and do the test?
Yep. So let's talk about Evolve for a minute, because that's a very tricky subject in more ways than one. Those of you who have already done terminology know what I mean. Evolve is tricky, right? Well, it's even trickier in coding, because you never know if it wants a comma, if it wants a space, or if it wants a decimal, or a hyphen, or a capital. I will tell you, please read before you answer. So in some instances it will say, please define using the code from your ICD-9 book. Please give me the code, not the words. But if you give me the words, that's fine. If you take an exam on Evolve and you know you got it right, but Evolve marked it wrong, send me an email that says, Doreen, I just took this test. Please let me know which test, because I'm not going to read your mind. And tell me which one you got wrong, and I will go in and fix it, and I will respond with your corrected grade. I don't mind doing that as long as you tell me what it is. I'm not going to just go looking for it. I'm not going to check every week to see that you've done your exams. I'm going to check on a weekly basis to see who's been on Evolve, because you should be doing an exam after every class. Now, if you don't have your books, obviously, you can't do much. Then you communicate with me and we'll work through it. But the idea is that you read the information and do most of the work in the chapter before class, and then go home and take the exam on Evolve. So, because we're going to have a break next week, I'll give you the assignments at the end of the night, and you'll know what's expected for the next class time. If you can get on and take the exams for 5 and 6, I will tell you right now that every student has had to email me and say, can you fix it? I don't mind, just let me know, okay? I don't remember, it's not been the same consistent error for everyone. So you're just gonna have to email me and say, can you check it out for me?
And one more question.
Sure.
Are most of the questions multiple choice, or are they?
Some are multiple choice, some are fill-in. I would say the majority are probably fill-in, where they're all timed as well. You usually have 60 minutes for a good amount of them. As we get deeper into the chapters, the time will increase. And the reason that they're timed is to prepare you for sitting for the national exam. So it's automatically timing it for you. With the Adams exams, I know you have 60 minutes, but you have less than 20 questions.
The Adams, I'm noticing when I'm doing the chapter work. I've done the chapter work on these two. A lot of the stuff I know, but I don't come into this class thinking, okay, I know all this and I'm going to breeze through it, because I don't believe that at all. It'll ask me a question and my mind goes blank.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what to put. I'll read it over and over and over again. And maybe it's just that I haven't studied in years.
Mm-hmm.
My mind goes blank. If it was multiple choice, I'd get it.
Yeah.
But it's not. So I may struggle with that at first.
That's fine. Everyone does, honestly.
Okay.
Everyone does.
On the national exam, is that
It's multiple choice?
That's multiple.
Okay, so there you
Yes. And that the pre, the post, and the final will get you ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You will have multiple choice for the national exam, so that's not a problem. And we will show you how to work through that and get to the right answer. But for the billing, the Adams book, it's really just a lot of fill in the blank, maybe some true and false.
Okay.
But honestly, don't stress about it. Don't stress about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Doreen, I have a question.
Yes.
Since I've already part of this class and I've already taken some of the tests, can I get them reset, or do I
If
just
you
keep
want.
those grades?
It's
Okay,
up to you.
I'll just
If you
email
want to
you.
redo them, I'll be happy to.
That would be great, since I didn't understand it the first time. I have a lot of stuff going on, so.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Sure, yep. All right, Medicare and Medicaid. This is probably my most favorite part of this book. Okay. Medicare and Medicaid. Basically, by the time we're done this chapter, you're going to know the two parts of Medicare system. You're going to understand what Medicare benefits are. Nancy, do you have a question?
No, I'm just.
You're going to be able to define eligibility, understand the Medicare payment system, and list the rules for submissions of claims and describe the Medicaid system. Well, with the change in the Medicaid system, one of my comments today was to a coworker was I was trying to post a remit for Medicaid. I got 6 pages to post a $7.13 payment.
Your tax dollars at work?
And my comment to my coworker was, they're looking to save money for Medicaid. Here's how they can start. Just put this on double-sided paper and use the 5 other pages for something else.
Why are they even sending you paper rather than doing it electronically?
Why are payers submitting it electronically and still sending me paper? Medicaid is not the only one. First of all, Medicaid is not even electronic that I'm aware of. I know I can probably send them electronically, but because I don't have that many Medicaid patients, we can submit on paper. Because you also are allowed a waiver, right, for submitting paper. So if I have less than a certain number of patients, I can put my Medicaid claims to paper.
What's the advantage for you? Why is that considered a benefit?
In this particular practice, I send out 1 packet a month probably instead of a packet every week. I don't send out just 1 claim at a time, but I definitely send out less than 50. And I came into this practice after it was already all set up, so I don't know why they didn't put them to electronic.
Okay,
I
just
don't
curious
know.
if there was some benefit to it.
The
goes to a
clearinghouse they're
clearinghouse.
using, it is costing money, but I don't know if maybe the Medicaid doesn't go through that clearinghouse.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't thought to ask about it. I don't know.
You can send it electronically. I don't know if it comes back electronically though. It didn't
Right.
back when I was doing it,
Right.
but
I know that if you go to, the PAS portal, PAS
it's been a
portal.
while since I've done it. So I used to do main care too. It was one
Yeah.
of my.
How about you, Rebecca? Do you remember? Is it?
The portal?
Yeah. Main care.
I got on there once and I was so frustrated and the thing wouldn't work and
Okay.
sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. So
I know that you can submit some electronically through the main care portal. So the provider would have to have a username and password to log in and set up the claim, and
It turns into a whole thing.
it turns into a whole
Nothing with
thing.
main care is easy.
Right.
I don't think. Really, it's not.
So I don't know why this particular practice doesn't send them electronically. I never thought to ask. But I do have ERAs, electronic remits, coming in from other payers, but they're still sending me paper too. So that in itself is a whole issue, trying to match what's coming electronically versus paper too, and just making sure cross over, make sure I'm not posting again.
And I know Medicaid secondary
Yes.
has to go out paper too. So if you get claims from Medicare that are denied, say you get a physical denied from Medicare because they don't cover them, it comes in. Medicaid will cover it if you bill it correctly.
Right.
At least it's been a few years since I've done it, but back when I did main care, you would have to put on a HICPA, white it out, you'd have to put down what you're billing, whatever code they wanted you to send. All has to be handwritten, and then you have to attach the EOB and send it out. It's just.
And guess what? Now they don't
Okay.
want any whiteout or any pin.
Huh. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been quite a while. Probably 10
You
11
used
years
to be able to do that,
since
but
I've done it.
no more.
But we're not handwriting anything. This is something that
We will not
do
have
in
to
the
be
computer and then
handwriting
print out.
anything, because I will tell you right now that most handwritten anything on a claim is getting denied.
Okay, I was just wondering about, the extent to which we were using
The
paper and
new
thinking, goodness
NGS
me.
Medicare, I got back some claims last week because I wrote in a place of service. Okay?
Yeah.
Place of service.
Yep.
Which usually in the past was not a big deal. I just didn't print, and I wasn't going to reprint for
Right.
a place of service. And they denied it.
Any reason.
they're really bad though. I mean, really bad.
They're really getting picky.
They're ridiculous.
Any reason not to pay.
Yeah. And that's the majority of what payers do, is stall. That's their biggest stall tactic, is to just deny. Even if the print is out of the box by a centimeter.
And it's only like 90 days, right? That you
Yes.
can submit those? And
Yes.
after 90 days, you're out the money
Yes.
anyway.
Right.
Now, if you've already submitted it and it's been denied, does that put a pin in your date of submission so you
Yes.
can continue to
Yes.
provide new information?
You have so many dates after the date of denial, the first denial and the second denial. And you have different levels. You have a denial, then you have a first appeal and a second appeal, and we'll get into that, yeah.
I was doing main care back when prime care started.
Oh, yes.
So I was already doing main care, and then prime care started, which threw a whole mess into primary care.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was a mess. I mean, I had claims, I had main care claims probably stacked this high.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you, from denials because we didn't have PCPs and we had the wrong PCPs and
Mm-hmm.
because prime care became an HMO from main care. It was a nightmare.
It is. It is
It was
awful.
a nightmare.
All right, so let's talk about the parts of Medicare. The Medicare is a 4-part program. Medicare Part A is the reimbursement for your hospital. This is the inpatient, the hospice, and your home health services. Then we have Medicare Part B, which is your versus of the non-institutional healthcare providers, your outpatient services. So we're on page what?
174.
174, chapter 6. Medicare Part C actually combines Part A and B, and sometimes Part D. And Part D happens to be your prescription drug coverage. These are the plans that are managed by your private insurance companies, usually that are approved by Medicare. We see Part C as the Advantage plans. Okay? Your Advantage plans take the place of Medicare plans. So if you have a patient that comes in and says, oh, I have Medicare and this Advantage plan, you look at them and say, I'm sorry, sir or ma'am, you have this Advantage plan.
I've missed something critical. I'm sorry.
No. Your Advantage plans help save the patients in the short term for the premium. They pay a higher premium sometimes with Medicare if they don't have, say, a secondary. Or so the patients who go towards the Advantage plans tend to pay a smaller monthly premium but more out-of-pocket money. Okay. Is that what you see?
I don't know a lot about them. They're Medicare replacements, correct? That's
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Sometimes, well, I don't know a lot about that side of it.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, I
we
don't
see
know.
them coming in from the front.
Okay.
That's where I was in the office at that time when they
Okay.
started coming in. But I think sometimes they cover a little bit more than Medicare, don't they?
Sometimes,
like they could
yes.
cover things like
Yes.
physicals where Medicare never covers the physical.
Yes.
So the patient may look at that and it's basically just choosing another plan. They get a choice.
Yeah.
Medicare, but they still have Medicare.
But it's not
It's
active.
just not primary.
Right, it's
anymore.
not active.
Well, it's still active though, isn't it? At least
In my arena, no.
no.
In chiropractic, it is not valid.
In primary care, it's still active, but it's kind of like in the background. You don't use it.
Okay.
You use their primary insurance, which would be the Medicare replacement plan. But it's still, and I've been through this with patients because they'll have a fit.
Yeah.
Like, no, I have Medicare, you know, they
Right.
kind of freak out, and it is, they do have it, but it's been replaced.
Yeah.
So you always bill that primary insurance first, or altogether, you don't bill Medicare anymore.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of tricky, but.
Right. When they first came out, that's what we were doing, was billing the Advantage plan and then billing Medicare. And that's when we found out that Medicare was no longer even being able to be used. So then the Advantage plans, or the replacement plans, you will find they are Medicare Complete, AARP Medicare Complete, or Aetna Medicare Complete, or your Secure Horizons.
So they call them Medicare plans, but
Yes.
they're not in fact Medicare plans. They're Medicare replacements.
They're replacement plans, or yes,
Which are funded privately where Medicare is funded government.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes. So as Nancy was saying, they do in some instances take care of things that Medicare didn't, such as exams. But I do know that Medicare is allowing for a preventative exam every year. Is that
that's
not
tricky.
true?
That's tricky. Okay,
Okay.
so that's Medicare. Medicare is tricky. That's what they are.
Okay.
So what we call a physical,
Yeah.
what you and I call a physical, Medicare doesn't cover a complete physical. They never have. Doctors used to bill them
Right.
as a 99215,
Right.
comprehensive. So the patient would come in, 75-year-old woman would come in, see a doctor for her physical every year, like she's supposed to. The doctor would see her and bill a comprehensive visit of a 99215 with hypertension and
Right.
hypercholesterol, and it would get paid. They did this for years. And then I think Medicare probably clamped down and said, if you're doing a physical, you need to bill a physical. So then they would bill a physical, and suddenly patients are all up in arms and said, my physical's always been covered. Well, no, it's never really been covered. It just wasn't billed correctly.
Right.
Anyway, to make a long story short, they do not cover it. Now they've come up with what they call a first-time Medicare wellness. Basically, they have a wellness exam, their first one, which is within the first 12 months, I think, of becoming eligible for Medicare. It's basically a hands-off visit. They can't touch the patient.
Mm-hmm.
They basically go over your 5 or 10-year plan of how they're going to take care of your health care. You know, you're going to have your colonoscopy every 5 years. You're going to have, I mean, this is how I see it. They're going to go over your mental health status. They check your BMI. There's certain bullets that they have to meet.
And we'll get into that later on, into documentation and history and physical and stuff like that.
And then they have one yearly, which first you have your initial, then you have your subsequent annual wellness exams, is what they call them. Again, I do not believe they touch them. So there's a huge gap between the patient and the doctor and us. Like, how do you get the doctor to do this wellness exam? Because they don't want to do it. And how do you explain to the parent, to the patient, that they're having a physical where the doctor doesn't touch them?
Right.
So it's huge. It's a big misunderstanding. It's not happening.
So
at
then,
least where we are.
So then, is there a definition from the payer what that entails?
Yep.
That's what I would look at.
And we've given it to the doctors, and we've given it to the office managers, and we've gone to meetings with the doctors, and we've said this is what you need to do, and they have the forms, correct? Celeste is really good at annual wellness exams, a lot better than I am. She's good at knowing what to look for in a note. I sometimes go to her and say, okay, tell me if you think this is an
Well, then you're going to teach the A&M.
Yeah, no, they don't like to do them. It's a lot of asking questions. What's their diet? Do they exercise? Like Nancy says, you know, are your immunizations up to date? Are your, you know, mammo, mental, you know, do you have protection barriers at your house?
So the review of systems.
Yeah, do you have like handrails, or, you know, do you have rugs? I mean, there's a lot of that, you know, and if they can't speak for themselves, hopefully there's someone there, they can get the information. What are their doctors, like other providers they see? Do they have other medical services like oxygen and this and that?
Okay.
And it's a lot of writing. And
so basically that first visit is the foundation, to lay the foundation of how we're going to treat the patient, and then the annual wellness exams.
It's going over it all, yeah.
It's going, just reviewing it.
Yeah. Okay. And the doctors, I've had doctors tell me right straight out, they don't want to do it.
Okay.
They don't want to do it, and they won't.
Why does it need to be done by a physician anyway? It seems like it's mostly
that's a good question.
gathering.
That was one of the questions I put forward to my office manager, which she was looking into, but I don't know if anything ever came of it, because Mercy's a big organization. Nothing happens quickly. But I put forward, why can't a registered nurse do it? We have registered nurses in the offices now.
Well, an RN can do it, and an MA should be able to do it. But what happens afterwards is the doctor has to review it with an initial off on it, and that is what is supposed to happen.
So it's happening that they're coming in for their physicals. Again, this is where the front desk needs to talk with the MAs, needs to talk, the doctor needs to talk. It's communication. So the front desk doesn't know anything about AWDs.
Right.
Because they don't do billing, they don't do coding, they don't do any of that. So when they're scheduling the patient, they schedule them for a physical.
Right.
And so then when the MA gets them, they fill up a physical form. And then the doctor gets them and they do the physical. And it's a vicious.
Yeah. So what has to happen, or what I'm hearing, is that there's no communication about who's being seen for the day and what needs to happen with those patients.
And there's no terminology
So
agreement, and that's essential for billing and coding.
Right. So no one is understanding.
This is where the frustration of the job that we do comes in.
Yeah.
This is where it comes in daily, you know, the frustration of the whole, of coding and billing, because you know these things and you're trying to get your point across. And again, in a small private practice, that's different. You can probably talk to them and say, my doctors are in Falmouth and Westbrook, and I'm in Wyndham, and my office managers, and then they have to talk to their managers. It's huge.
I send an email to my docs and say, after my review and posting and yada yada yada, this is what I need from you.
We do too.
And this is why.
We do too. We can task the doctors and talk directly to them.
Nice.
But it's a work in progress, I guess I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I know.
It's nice.
Some of our physicals, of course, they're not doing them right, and I'm not. It's like I've already told them, they know, whatever. So they're going out the door, and then it gets denied, and then Dan, the manager, will say, "Why did this get denied?" I said, "It's not a wellness physical. They're
Right.
not covering it."
Right.
So one of them, the patient called back and said, "I'm not going to pay for this, blah, 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 blah." He wanted me to change it. I'm like, look, the notes, I can't do that.
Right. Right.
You know. So I guess what he's started to do is the front desk can't handle it, so he's sending it down to the MAs so they can say, you know, give them the guidelines, you know, what do you really need, how old are you, whatever. They still can't do it.
But then Medicare is telling them. Okay, so on the other end of the spectrum, Medicare is telling all their patients, guess what? You get a free physical every year. You get a free annual exam every year. So the patients are coming to us and saying, wait a minute.
Right.
Or they're coming to the office manager and saying, why am I being billed for this?
Right.
Office manager's coming back to us as coders saying, why did you bill it like this? We're going back to the doctor saying, you did this and this is what you coded.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what your note says. It's, yeah.
What a mess.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that commercial on TV? Because they advertise it, you know, about getting this physical. Oh, and you can get a physical.
I did.
You know, and they really pushed it. And when they were pushing that, oh my God, I had tons of people. Oh, we got a free physical, you know.
Yeah.
But they don't understand what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a conversation.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, so let's move on with Medicare. We have covered Part C. Medicare Part D is the prescription drug part of it. This is where it helps the patient with their cost for drugs. You also, Medicare has its own drug coverage as well as the Advantage plans or the replacement plans. Your Part A coverage, we've kind of touched upon it. This is your hospitalization. The benefit period is usually 1 to 60 consecutive days. Lifetime reserve can be elected after 90 days. Have you guys seen any of that in your coding? Any lengthy hospital stays for Medicare?
I don't really do, we don't do hospital.
We don't do the hospital,
Okay.
so they may be.
We don't do it, we just do the physician.
Your skilled nursing facility stays, this is under Part A coverage, home health services, and then hospice care. Your hospice care is limited to 4 benefit periods, and it will also cover respite care, which is temporary hospitalization to help provide relief for the caregiver.
What is benefit period? What does that mean?
Benefit period, some of them only have like a 30-day benefit period or a 60-day or 90-day or 6 months. It depends, I would think, on the illness or injury. You know, like when we go to like have day surgery and there's a global period for surgery. So something similar to that for benefit period.
And Part A they get for free? It's on, I mean, when you retire, you get
Yes.
Part A.
Yes, Part A is given.
Okay.
Part B is what costs money, and C and D.
D is separate.
Yes.
That's a whole separate thing
Yes.
that a person would have
Yes.
to have.
Yes.
Okay. But you get, is it some drugs are covered in Part B? No.
No, you have to have a separate
So
prescription.
you have to.
coverage.
So if people, what about if
they
you
don't
have
have-
another plan besides
That's
that?
fine.
Like it, so that should cover some of
Yes.
it, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
What most of your beneficiaries do is get Part D plus another plan to cover drugs. So they might have Part D Medicare as well as AARP.
Okay.
Because
by
one,
drugs, you mean prescriptions?
yes,
Not immunizations
Correct.
and things like that.
Yes.
Is
Okay,
that
that's
you're
what,
thinking of?
yeah, because they don't cover TDAPs, and we're starting to do that. It's
What's that mean, Celeste?
it's a tetanus, pertussis,
Oh, okay.
but Medicare is saying there's not a necessity unless they were hurt and they needed
Right.
it, you know?
Right.
So I was wondering if a patient had it, they could get like a prescription and get it through Part D and come back if it would be covered, and then they
I don't
could
know.
just do the admit. But if you're saying it's just drugs,
I would
mean,
say
I
it's
don't
just
know.
drugs, and it comes
Drugs.
under your HCPCS codes, and
Mhm.
that's usually not covered.
Right, okay.
The administration might be covered, but the drug
Right,
not
okay.
covered. And that would be a V code visit.
Right.
We'll get into that.
Mhm.
Part B coverage, your physician services, professional inpatient services, services of your non-physician professionals, services of limited license professionals, diagnostic testing, drugs that are not self-administered, and ambulance. So under Part B, there may be some drugs that are covered, but then for your other prescription drugs would be Part D. So Part B will be very minimal as to what they cover.
Do they have to pay for Part D
Yes.
separately?
Yes. I know my parents have Medicare as well as Part D for prescription, and then mail handlers to cover anything that Part B and Part D don't cover.
Oh, wow.
That's how crazy it is.
And
So-
then if Medicare applies to deductible, a lot of times your secondary will apply to
That's
deductible
right.
also, right?
That's
So
right.
really covering.
Right.
So if someone has like a diabetes, I mean, you'd want to have a
You would
Part
want to
D.
have a supplemental,
Right.
yes.
I mean, because nothing's.
Yes. Unless they fall under state assistance. So. All right, what are the eligibility requirements for someone to have Medicare? They must have worked at least 10 years in a Medicare covered employment. They must be a minimum of 65 years of age. They must be a citizen or permanent resident of the United States. They must be disabled or have chronic kidney disease. The disability must be the inability to work because of a medical condition and must last at least 1 year or result in death.
So they have to be disabled for at least 1 year before they're eligible for it.
Yeah.
That's if they're younger than 65.
Yes. And then they still fight for that too.
Yeah.
You see a copy of a Medicare card in your book. You've all seen what a Medicare card looks like. It's red, white, and blue. I don't know why they don't just make it hard and sturdy, durable, just like all of the other insurance cards we get. Some people laminate them. They're not even supposed to laminate them. It's kind of crazy. Your Medicare payment system. The allowed amounts are based on relative value system. Again, we talked about this in Chapter 5. This is your physician work component, the overhead practice expense, and the malpractice insurance. Your patients usually have an annual deductible and a co-payment allowance. I know this year the deductible was $147, and their co-payment in a chiropractic setting is a 20% co-insurance. If they have a secondary, that secondary insurance, if there's no deductible, they usually will cover the co-insurance portion, so the patient is usually covered.
Now, am I confused again, or is co-payment and co-insurance used interchangeably in this context? 20% co-payment.
For Medicare, I don't know what it's like in other practices or in the hospital setting. So there might be a specific copay in that arena that I'm not aware of. No?
I don't think so. I think it's a percentage.
Okay. Usually it's a
It's a
percentage.
deductible and then a percentage.
Yeah.
Like $150 deductible. I can't remember what the deductible is. And then like 80-20, I think, or
Right.
something along
It's
those lines.
It's usually Medicare allows 80% and the patient's responsible for 20. Okay. Your laboratory services, the Medicare will pay at 100% of the allowed amount.
And then for the replacement plans, sometimes there's a copay.
Right. Sometimes there's a copay. I know for some of the Aetna Medicares, they have like a $30 copay. Okay. Your explanation of benefits, this is what we get back once we send in the claim and the services have been approved for payment. The provider of the service usually receives this remittance. It's either an EOB, EOMB, COB. Have I missed any acronyms? There's a few.
And that's just how they're letting you know
yes.
what they've been willing to pay, what you billed and what they were willing to pay.
Right, right. So what you're going to see, and there's probably an example in your book somewhere about what a remittance advisory looks like. Usually on there you have the patient's name and identification number.
Page 179.
So look at page 179 in your textbook.
It's just a blankie. But.
Yeah. You'll see up there the name and address of the person who provided the service. There's place for that. A date, place, and type of service is listed on there. Procedure code or service that's rendered to the patient is put on there. The amount allowed by Medicare for the service. What's the patient copayment? What's the claim action information? Did it cross over from one agency to the other? What is the reason it was paid or denied? And what are any additional adjustments or write-offs? And I can actually bring in a few that are HIPAA compliant for you to see. Secondary payer provisions. This is where Medicare is not always the patient's primary insurance. Under the Social Security Act of 1966, there was certain criteria that was established making Medicare a secondary payer. And I actually listened to a webinar on this a few weeks back about how to process claims when Medicare is a secondary payer. Oh my goodness. I don't know why I would want to go through that. Thankfully, I don't have to in the outpatient setting I work in very often, but it was good just to be aware of what we have to do to submit a claim to Medicare. We have to show what the primary insurance paid, what's left over for the responsibility, and if they are even going to pay. That's the other thing, if they're even going to pay. More often than not, they don't because the primary paid more than what was allowed. So it's crazy.
But you still have to submit it, right?
You still should submit it, yeah.
Why? That seems like an exercise in administrative futility. Mm-hmm. And yet you have to, but why?
You have to because you have to show that you did your due diligence to collect payment to get the denial so that you either write it off because you are a participating provider or you can balance bill the patient.
If you're
you can't balance bill the patient if you don't have that rejection or denial to show that you did your due diligence.
The system is insane.
Yes.
And wouldn't that be a problem, like if you had an auditor come in and
Yep.
because they audit,
Yep.
and they'll come in and see that she didn't do that?
Mm-hmm.
It just seems logical on its face that you could say Medicare allows this amount's already been paid, so
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason to bill Medicare. All they're going to do is deny it.
Right.
Logic tells you that, and yet
Right.
no, you're chasing your tail.
I'll give you a scenario, and you guys tell me what's the response you would give me. I had an Aetna patient and a Medicare patient. I billed the Aetna. I turned around and I billed it to Medicare with a copy of the Aetna remits. And because I didn't put it electronically, first of all, I was trying to figure how in the heck am I going to get this remit to attach to the claim to go to Medicare electronically. Long story short, the patient appealed the situation because she felt she paid for services that she should not have paid for. We had the ABN signed. We submitted the claims to Medicare with the Aetna remits finally, electronically. The Medicare came back to the patient indicating that the services weren't a covered procedure by Medicare, but if she signed or was told ahead of time that these services weren't covered, she could still be held responsible. Follow me so far?
Uh-huh.
What do I do?
Bill her.
Did she signed the ABN though, right?
Yeah, you should be able to
You
bill
can
it.
still be able to bill her.
Bill her.
If she
Yeah.
signed it, and you let her know, and if she signed it, and you told her, oh, whatever procedure and the doctor's name and all that good stuff, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. This is one of those situations where the patient paid up front. We knew Medicare was not going to cover the service, so we had her pay. She felt that they should have paid, but we knew they were not going to. This has actually been probably 8 months in the works.
She filed a complaint,
Yeah,
and so now Medicare is going after
the provider. Yeah,
for collecting money from her that they shouldn't.
yeah.
That doesn't seem.
But we have an ABN.
Yeah.
You should be.
So you should be able to bill
I
her.
know.
You were honest and candid up front.
I know, but isn't that crazy?
Yes.
It's
I mean,
crazy.
you can understand. You can understand the motivation. I mean, think what you want of Obamacare, but you can understand the motivation behind somebody in high office saying the way it's happening now is insane.
Mhm.
It has to be simplified, and part of the way to make it more affordable for more people
Right.
is to reduce all of this administrative duplication of effort and futile tail chasing. You can understand the motivation behind it.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's crazy. It really costs more man hours to deal with that whole, 12 visits to go back and forth.
It frittered money away administratively.
Yes.
At some point, you might be better off to write it off.
Yeah.
At some point, you might be better off to.
No, the patient wanted the money back.
She wanted the money back?
The patient wanted the money back.
For a non-covered service, you
Yes,
had an
that
ABN
she
on.
said,
Yes.
right.
Well,
Yes.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
Medicare is not
I can't
gonna
help
buy-
you.
Yeah. So have you received a response back from Medicare on the whole thing? I mean, in the
Yes.
end,
That she can be billed for those services.
But you knew that before
That's
when
right.
you had her paid
But
already.
I had to do, I had to
go
show
through the
due
motions.
diligence.
That's
this is why you do what you do up front.
Yes.
fuming
Yeah,
on
the
behalf
most
of the
you can get the
universe.
money
That's
up front.
insanity.
Yes.
Because once they leave the door, see you bye.
Right.
But this is why you do what you do up front, like have an ABN signed and things like that. And is it true, because going around and around and around. So if it's a non-covered service all the time, such as a physical, you do not have to have an ABN signed.
That's my understanding,
Okay.
is that if it was what they call non-statutorily covered service, and I think there's a list. I don't remember where it is, but I remember at one point there was a list that you could go down through and you really didn't need the ABN for it, but doctors were doing it anyway to CYA,
Yeah.
okay? So that they could go back to the patient and prove, we did inform you that this was not covered and this is the charges and you still wanted to have the service.
Which I think is a good idea.
Yes.
For physicals even.
Yes, for
But they're not
physicals
doing it,
even.
So you don't know where that site is, or is it on Medicare?
I thought
somewhere?
it was on CMS website, but I don't remember.
Okay, I'm gonna look
I
for
haven't
that.
found it in a while.
I would have it tattooed on my cheek. They don't do physicals. Pay
Patients
me.
don't read signs.
Yeah. I don't, you remember the waiver form that they used to have?
Yeah.
There used to be a waiver form for Medicare patients.
Yeah.
I loved that form because I would give it to them, especially in a chiropractic office, and explain, this is what is not covered.
Does Medicare typically provide chiropractic care? Does it?
Only chiropractic manipulation. That's it.
So no additional therapies.
No adjustment, no therapies, no x-rays, no acupuncture, nothing. Just the chiropractic adjustment.
Wow.
And they'll only cover like 3, right? 3 visits and then?
It just depends on the medical necessity and the documentation. It could be anywhere from 6 to 12 to 24 to 36. Do they have degenerative joint disease? You know, a whole host of things.
But a lot of doctors, DOs, do manipulation in their office.
Our doctors, some of them are DOs and they do manipulations.
So they could get probably more office. Well, no, they document it different. They charge it out.
They document it differently, they charge
Yeah,
differently, and they get paid more.
Yeah.
It's somatic dysfunction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they use, they
1 to 2 areas and 2 to 4 areas. I don't know, it's a long time.
yeah, so 989-4041-4243. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Let's move into Medigap. These are the programs that are available to your Medicare recipients.
180.
Page 180, Medigap. All right. This is usually a plan that helps the patients who have incurred medical expenditures, such as the Blue Cross plans, the secondary plans. These are your Medigap plans. On your insurance card, it might say Supplemental Plan F or Medigap on the secondary card. Okay? So Medigap will pay for more than the Medicare allowed amount based on the individual contract agreement. Okay? So a patient comes in, they receive care from a non-participating physician who does not accept assignment on the claim. Your Medigap plan might pay the deductible, the co-payments, and any portion over the allowed amount. Those are your Medigap plans. So we were talking about them earlier as secondaries. These are what is known as your Medigap plans.
Okay.
Signature on file form. Your patient needs to assign the benefits only once in a lifetime. But just because they do that doesn't mean you use and abuse it, okay? You can't just create visits out of a whim because you're at a snow day and the doctor needs to make up revenue.
Well, that seems reasonable. Note to self, Doreen says don't commit fraud. Let me jot that down.
You can tattoo that on the other team.
Yeah. Ask Doreen.
So this is where the signature can be used to send copies of claims to the secondary payers. So in our practice, or it is my practice, in the beginning when I first started out, I used to actually have them sign the HCFA form, the CMS 1500 form. And I would just put that on file in their chart.
That's not kosher though, right? That's not okay?
Well, nowadays there's supposed to be some kind of office policy form where there's a paragraph on there that says I authorize so-and-so to bill on my behalf. I don't know the exact verbiage anymore because it's all...
the one that you sign when you go into the doctor's.
Nobody wants to do their own billing, obviously.
Right.
HIPAA compliant.
It's the form that, I don't know, says all that stuff.
Yeah, it's basically informed consent.
Yeah, and it says that the money can go to the insurance company,
Yeah.
or you're signing
It's
for a
consent
child.
form.
Yeah.
That's what it is, consent
Informed
form.
They
consent
can't
form.
sign
It will have your office
themselves,
policies, you'll get a
yeah.
whole packet or whatever, and it says that the money, that you're letting them collect. And also give information to your other
Provider.
insurances.
Yeah.
And that's just all part of a new patient intake?
Yep.
You have
Yeah.
the
You have
them
the
sign.
packet of
Right.
forms? Okay.
Right. So it's not something you need to do every year. As long as you are a patient for that practice, that signature on file is good. But again, you can't just use that signature when you feel like it, okay? You have to be able to prove they were in the practice. Okay?
It does seem fair.
Providers of service. We have medical doctors, DOs, which are doctors of osteopathy, licensed clinical psychologists, accredited clinical social workers, laboratories, outpatient hospital services, qualified ambulatory surgical centers, stuff like that. These are providers of service. I mentioned earlier the different levels of appeals for processing Medicare claims. You have the informal review, a fair hearing review, an administrative law judge hearing, and a judicial review. And first of all, if you get to the informal review, you better really need and want that money. It better be worth that money to do an informal review. If you cannot get your claim reprocessed the first 2 times, and what I mean by that is you simply make a phone call to Medicare.
Page 193.
Page 193 in your textbook. You make a call to Medicare and you say, this date of service, this charge, why did you deny it? Oh, look, it's missing an AT modifier. Well, can you reprocess that for me, or how would you like me to resubmit it? And they tell you and you get it fixed. If you have to go any higher than that or doing a redetermination form, then you need to really look at how you're practicing. If you're constantly having denials and denials and denials and you've got to go to informal reviews all the time, you've got issues.
And is it an issue in, when you say you've got issues, it's an issue in the way you're coding?
I would
it's an
say
issue in the way
it's
you're
issues
submitting?
in how things are being coded and how is Medicare looking at it. There's got to be some miscommunication there between
There's a disconnect.
The code, the notes, and they're just not paying it. Why? They don't just randomly, if there's constantly denying the same thing over and over again and you've got to fight for it over and over again, that's what I mean there's an issue. Okay, what have you ladies come across?
Me, when I would call to see why something was submitted, honestly, it was either the printer put it on the wrong line, or it was missing a modifier.
Yeah.
That's usually what I get.
How about you, Nancy?
I don't really do a lot of them, so I don't do a lot of that end of it anymore.
Okay. Celeste?
We don't really see that. I mean, now we have a billing group that's sending us back stuff that they're looking. Sometimes it's gone out and denied, or sometimes it hasn't gone out and they're sending us, tasking us. It's like a email system, and they say, need this, or this is, I had a pregnancy test and there was no medical necessity. And I knew this because I verified the batch and that kicked out. But then the doctor said, well, you don't give this medication if the patient's pregnant. So he had to give a pregnancy test.
Oh.
And he he seemed snappy in his task. So I didn't even bother to say, can you document this on the note?
Right.
And it came back. Right. And then I sent it back to him and he amended and he fixed the note.
Yeah.
But the person said the claim was going to be thrown out. So, I mean, we haven't really been getting anything.
I would say from formal reviews, you're looking at things like it's being denied for you billing the wrong codes. You know, basically like if you're billing, I'm trying to think of one, physicals for the wrong age, over and over again, or maybe
the wrong biller on there.
Yeah, I mean,
like I have,
you don't have your modifiers. You don't have,
rendering providers, group billing providers,
things like that.
Stuff like
so
that.
Missing information or the wrong information, billing the wrong codes, but I don't see why that would happen over and over. I guess sometimes they change them.
Right.
Like say you're billing Medicare for a flu code, you need to bill the G008.
Right.
When you are billing the 90471 for everybody else, but some people don't know that. They could be billing the 90471s to Medicare over and over again and they're getting denied, and you have to find out why it's being denied and fix it, basically. They can change codes on you too. I mean, things change too, or the way they want it billed sometimes changes, right?
Right. Nope, exactly. basically what I'm really trying to get at here with the informal review, and this is really just knowledge to stick in the back of your brain, is if you're getting this far in your Medicare appeals process, really review your billing and coding situation, especially if it's happening all the time. If it's happening occasionally, every so often, look at, is this a repeat code? Look at those types of things, okay? That's really what I'm just trying to come across with the appeals process.
Review, do you mean just sending it for review, basically?
Yes.
You're basically just sending a claim back for review. Please review this, we've fixed it.
Yeah, and they have a form for you to fill out.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like the third time though, right?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
It is. Because the first time is the phone call, the second time is usually the resubmission with the claim with the copy of the denied remit. And then the redetermination form is sometimes second too, and then the informal review. Okay? Your railroad Medicare, we're seeing less and less of these nowadays, but this is the only other program that's recognized by the federal system. It follows the same rules and payment programs as your federal program. Your recipients are usually, the numbers are written in a different format than the Social Security number of the recipient. Again, you won't see a lot of Medicare railroads anymore. Medicaid is the state-funded program that was created to help the low-income families obtain health care services. Your physicians must actually be contracted with the state Medicaid program to see patients, and there are different types of programs available. I think I know Quimby is one of them, and I thought there was another one. I want to say like Quimby, and the other one started with a Q too. I don't remember what, but they're different sub programs under Medicaid. Your Medicaid coverage will give you inpatient hospital care, outpatient services, your laboratory fees, x-ray services, skilled nursing services, and physician services. Usually the Medicaid coverage is for people who are qualified patients under the age of 21. If it's over, it's usually for a income bracket, right, and some disability. When you see Medi-Medi, MEDI-MEDI, this is not misprinted. This basically is shorthand that indicates the patient has Medicare and Medicaid.
Indicating both elderly and indigent, essentially?
Yes.
Okay.
Or disabled and disabled
Very low income.
or low income or, so, and I think you might see too in different practices, they might just do like MM or MCare and MCAID, but you will probably see it as Medi-Medi. And we got through chapters 5 and 6 tonight, ladies.
With 4.5 minutes to spare.
Excellent. Good work.
Goodness gracious me.
You had me on my toes. I'll sleep good tonight.
Lord, I'm so glad I started over again. I would not have been able to pick it back up. There's no possible way.
How are you ladies doing? Okay. So, are you two up in Lawrence?
Yeah. Yes,
So,
we are.
So it's Lily and who? Nikki Fuller? And Lily Reardon? Okay. All right, very good. So you're going to be there every week? We're planning on it? Okay. So next week we have a vacation because school vacation. So I'm going to resend the 2014 course syllabus. If you have it already, then you can just delete the emails or delete the attachment. But what we're going to do for assignments. Okay. We have the next chapters are what? Because I gave you my syllabus.
Is it? This is the one you gave me last year. same thing, I mean,
Yes.
last year, I say this like
Yes.
this.
Okay, so week 2 is going to be Adam's book, Chapter 1, Diagnostic Coding ICD-9. And so what you're going to do for this week is you're going to take the exams on Evolve.
5 and 6.
5 and 6. Adams 5 and 6. And for the week that we come back, I want you to have read Chapter 1, which is Diagnostic Coding in your Adams book. All right, Adam's book, Chapter 1, and do all the in-chapter exercises. I will email answers to everybody so that you can review your answers and come back with questions if you want. Again, if you don't have a book, probably the HCPC or the CPT, let me know, or your CPC exam review.
You also have handwritten in yours, Chapter 8.
I know, I was going to give you guys some extra work, but I'm not going to.
You're awesome.
She really is.
Okay. So just Chapter 1, Adam's book, and the exercises. And
Yes.
exam.
So basically, this is going to give you a feel for getting started in the Adams and the Evolve. So getting